All right. It's the Monday stream. I think I've put a good title out there that's sure to grab people's attention and probably send some of the people, mostly on Twitch, I would say, into some kind of kinetic shock. But that's okay because I kind of like trolling Twitch stream guys. I mean, because Twitch is a horrible place, really, full of evil people. So I really don't mind, pissing a bunch of them off. I mean, you have to remember Twitch allows people who actively support uh, and brag on Hamas and other such groups to continue to stream on their channel, right? And while I'm not trying to be pro, I guess, censorship. Um, Inciting people to violence is against the law. I mean, everyone knows it. It's not like somebody didn't tell somebody. So, it's just not a just not a good look. It's like, really, this is what you're gonna do with your life. This is what you're gonna do. But maybe I've been watching too much of Nuxenor. He's got a pretty good playlist. It's like the playlist about Hassan Piker and what percentage of F he is at any given time. So let's see. So anyway, I do have the link to invite people on. I just thought I'd talk for a few minutes first. So if you're one of those guys that joins me a lot and we bullshit around, be thy not concerned or worried. I am still here for you, my brethren in Christ. So, I'm just talking a little bit before I get going. So, videos on my list to make by request. I am going to be making a video naming the top most efficient mechs in each tonnage from 3025. And why 3025? Because that's what real men play. Anyone that plays like other eras of Battletech, they probably shouldn't be allowed within 500 feet of a school. Yes, of course, I'm being hyperbolic. So anyway, drinking my sugar-free squirt. Watching people pop in and pop out. That's the Twitch streamers. They pop in to see what I'm doing, and they pop out when they realize that I'm just goofing with them. So anyway, as you can see, table done. Table done. Very happy. I am now working on my. Well, it will use the new Antioch rules. There's Leth. What's up, Leth? How you doing? I hope you're doing pretty good. Except I've decided to mod them up by cutting the bedroll they had on and replacing it with a World War I American backpack, complete with shovel. And I'm also going to equip some of them to be engineers and some of them to be shock troops. Why? Because, I think it'll be cool. See, look at this guy.
Hello.
Hello there. How you been?
Doing good, Obi-Wan.
Why, hello there. Yeah, Obi-Wan. Yeah, I couldn't help it because I've been watching a lot of that whatever where the guy has like Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan and Anakin watching
Parts of Star Wars and
parts of Star Wars. I've heard that their One Ring videos are really good too, where it's got like Elrond and Aragorn and everybody hanging out, you know. And I guess somebody turned Samwise into a potato and they keep him locked in a jar. He's like, say the thing. He's like, I'm not saying the thing. They're like, say it. He's like, fine, potato.
Well, apparently,
Apparently.
Legolas never talked to Frodo.
No?
Yeah, really. He had one line near Frodo, and that's about as far as that he ever talked to Frodo.
Well, it makes sense since honestly, Legolas's people were a bunch of dicks. Hey Mobius, how you doing? Good day. I hope you're not freezing. You know?
The only thing he said near Frodo was, and my bow.
Yep. Legolas was a dick. It was his father, King Thranduil, who locked the dwarves in prison for having the temerity to walk through the woods. That's like all they really did. Well, also they ran after the elf lights, but that was because they were starving and had just barely escaped being ate by the spiders. So the king of the high elves, which I think is Legolas's father, captured all the dwarves and had their asses locked into prison. But Bilbo, being invisible, hid out, and then he rescued, the dwarves and put them in barrels.
See why dwarves don't like elves?
And yeah, it's like the wood elves. Now, the wood elves, sure, they were fighting a thing with the forces of Saruman, from Dol Guldur and all that. But I mean, come on, you really think if you're an elf, do you really think the dwarves are servants of the Dark Lord? And if you do, you're an idiot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
While there may have been a few dwarves here and there that might have been down with that shit in general, though, no. And especially not, Thorin. He's of the noble family and everything. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, and then in the end, even though all the elves had did is lock the dwarves in prison and treat them like shit, they show up demanding their share of the money. It's like, you sneaky little bitches, right? It's
Okay.
like the elves, I mean. It's like you didn't deal with see, at least Bard of Lake Town had an argument. He killed the dragon. So Bard could be like, look, I killed that freaking dragon for you, and he destroyed my whole town. So slide a few ducats this way so I can get my town fixed and it's all good, right? That makes sense. But the elves just show up and they're like, oh no, we deserve money. It's like, what? Get out of here, you grinchy bastards. You threw me in prison.
This is how everybody portrays the elves. They're just horrible. Except for Frieren. Frieren's the only time where elves weren't the worst.
It's like, even like, you can even argue that even, hey, how you doing, Nerdy Ogre?
Even what?
Nerdy Ogre.
Yeah, no, but before you
even Galadriel, and I don't mean Galadriel, I mean the actual Galadriel. Even she, when offered the ring, talks about how she would become just the most horrible thing ever. Right?
Okay, James, I gotta ask you something now.
Ask.
What's worse, Guy Ladriel or Mud Brown?
Who's Mud Brown?
Discord, Snow White, the new Snow White.
Oh,
Mud Brown and the
yeah.
7 Discord mods.
Yeah. Somebody was making like a joke about that. Like they showed her and the 7 dwarves, and all the 7 dwarves were like CGI Peter Dinklages.
Yes.
And they're just like, that cheeky bastard. So he raised a fuss about dwarves being typecast just so he could get all the jobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, wow. That's okay.
Have you seen the 3 songs made out of comments about Snow White?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are pretty hilarious. People were like, my comment, which may or may not be whatever, but I've even asked my wife about this, and I've said it maybe on my channel before, isn't Snow White supposed to be prettier than the evil queen?
That was in the song.
Yeah, I think somebody made a mistake here because Gal Gadot or whatever is way more attractive than the Ziegler girl. So
What's a mirror on the wall? Who's the fairest of them all? You are. But there is one more bitchier than you.
Right. It's like it's so obvious which one is the hot one.
Yeah.
And it's not Ziegler, because I don't know what it is about her, but she's not pretty.
Well, you know what? Lord Farquaad was just so mad or so upset that he didn't get the Disney princess that he became a Disney princess.
That's, I mean, funny and fair. Yeah, Lord Farquaad, because that is true. And I've heard people call her Lord Farquaad, and I totally get it. I'm like, yep.
They have the same hairstyle.
They have the same hairstyle and eyebrows. And like, also, she's playing in this German fairy tale that's ultimately about, true love and everything like that. I remember she obviously hates the idea of true love. Now, I don't know if she's like into the women or what her problem is, but the idea of Prince Charming riding to her rescue, she's said multiple times, she's just not down with it, right?
I like that other comment where a German guy's like, I'm German and I claim cultural appropriation.
Well, that's what I do all the time whenever I see like some company misusing Slavic mythology. And I'm just like, that is some cultural appropriation shit right there.
Yeah.
Oh, and weird news. So it turned out, let's talk a little politics real quick. Not that you listen to politics at all.
I do a lot.
So Zelensky had already signed the mineral deal with the British before he even came to the White House.
I thought something happened like that, although I was going to probably guess that actually Russia had the minerals and Zelensky didn't.
No, Russia, however, told the president through Lavrov that they too have rare minerals, and they are willing to negotiate with the United States about us getting them. So it's like, okay, Zelensky, who is a lying rat-faced skink, or Putin, who may be a dictator, but at least his people like him, and they both got rare earth minerals, and the Russians are like, yeah, we'll sell you the rights to our rare earth minerals, no problem. Who are you going to trust? And then to make things extra golden, the day after Zelensky pulled a shit, Russian special assault Z teams crossed the river, I think the Olda or whatever it's called, and have just been running amok on the western side of the river. So even with the Europeans giving money, with us not giving money or weapons or anything, plus the Russians have been just heavily bombarding every part of the front line nonstop for like days, right? So it's like if Zelensky keeps playing games, he's going to find himself living in Miami or Tel Aviv because there won't be a Ukraine. It'll be the Oblast of Ukraine, part of Russia, because they're making moves. They're right now they have troops surrounding Kharkiv. That's like 100 kilometers from Kiev. And they're not sending in their like draftees and whatever. Like the video footage I was watching, because you can watch a lot of this, believe it or not, on Instagram. Because the Ukrainsky Armia, our boys in Ukraine, and the Russians both post GoPro footage of the shit they're doing.
This is weird.
Which is kind of weird. Like, we weren't allowed to take any pictures when I was in Iraq. You get in trouble for that, right?
We're now in a day and age that, people are live streaming a war.
Yeah, they're literally a Ukrainian trench line got attacked by a Russian assault team. And at the end of the deal, it was 8 dead or captured Ukrainians, 0
you really
dead
wouldn't
or
want that
captured
to happen
Russians.
either, because, I mean, if you were live streaming the video, then, you'd be easily tracked.
Well,
not a very good idea.
Man, you can strap them right on your helmet.
Yeah, I know, but, live streaming or, streaming this stuff would actually be a hindrance to your army that you're in.
Well, maybe what they're doing is they're just recording.
Yeah, they might be just recording.
And then when they get back to safe areas, because you are right.
Upload it, yeah.
I remember a while back when those idiots went over to Ukraine to fight for Ukraine, and they were effing around on the internet, and the Russians tracked where it was coming from and like dropped artillery all over them.
Yeah.
Which pretty much ended that shit. Because, but anyway, so it was 8 dead or captured Ukrainians, 0 dead or injured Russians. And then at the end of the video, you find out that the Russian troops in the video were Spetsnaz. So there are Russian Spetsnaz troops across the river surrounding Kharkiv. And even with all that shit going on, the Russian Pravda and their newspapers are saying that there's something much bigger in the pipeline. And it's like, they're going to do what they did to the Germans. You know what the Germans used to say about the Russians? This is actual what the Germans said. Anytime the Russians get a foothold across a river or something, like a beachhead, you have to immediately attack it and destroy it, because if you don't, before you know it, they'll be overrunning you. Because that's how they do. They send their little 6-8 man teams across to get beachheads, generally in wooded areas and hills and shit like that. And then they just start, nonstop reinforcing. And then the next thing you know, you got a bunch of Russians, oorah, 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 running in the wire, killing you. And the problem is the Ukrainians did hold them back. The first time the Russians went across the river, Ukrainians were like, nope, get the fuck out of here, right? But we're talking about the Russians. And they're like, yeah, we don't care. We're just going to do it again. And that's what they did. Except this time the Ukrainians couldn't stop them. And now they're being forced to pull back to other cities. Because if the highways between Kharkiv get cut off, then the entire front line in the north will not be able to be resupplied, which is what the Russians are doing. It's what they've been doing the whole time, is they pick an area, they artillery the shit out of everything, and then they encircle it. And then if you're the Ukrainians defending the area, your only option is to flee out of the area or get encircled. And then, you know what happens once your troops get completely encircled, you're in trouble,
Yeah.
So that's happening. So Zelensky with his "we will fight till the end," it's like, dude.
Well, at this point, I would let him just be like, okay, you know what?
All right.
With that.
Do your thing. I mean, you thought it'd be funny to try to pull some shiesty ass shit with the EU and the UK. I mean, honestly, if I were the president, I would totally drop NATO like a bad habit right now. I'd be like, we're out of NATO. You guys fucking figure it out yourselves. What's up, Bear?
Hey, how you doing?
I am.
I assume we're discussing Zelensky.
I touched on the fact that the Russians have crossed the Oda River and are almost just about encircling Kharkiv. So the longer Zelensky keeps effing around, the less of a Ukraine there will be for him.
Well, it's ridiculous. Like, I have all these friends who are like, oh my God, I stand with Ukraine. I'm like, did you not even realize what just happened there? Have any of you studied fucking geopolitics, even like remotely, to get an idea of what occurred? Had Zelensky did what he was supposed to be there to do, which was sign the mineral rights deal, allowing Americans to now go into the Ukraine and mine, thereby preventing the Russians from wanting to accidentally bomb them and kill Americans.
That's true.
Fucking idea.
The last thing the Russians want to do
is fight America.
Is, start accidentally bombing an American.
The last thing Putin wants is to have a fucking war with America. And here's the thing.
Code Inferno.
They had to do that. Trump and Vance had to show a public face of, we are not taking a side in this, because Zelensky still wants Ukraine and NATO. And if Ukraine joins NATO, what happens? Attack on one is attack on all. Off to World War III we go a-running, right? And if that happens...
Violence is pointing out it takes a year advance notice, and I'm going to say I don't think Trump cares.
I don't think
I wouldn't care either.
I think he'd leave tomorrow.
I mean, he'll leave tomorrow and be like,
Russia goes to war with NATO, China joins Russia in that war. And fucking all these idiot fucking couch potatoes don't get that we are on the fucking eve of Armageddon right now, and we need to fucking be very cautious about what we do. And Zelensky doesn't deserve any more fucking money from the West.
You know what NATO also, the Treaty of NATO also says?
India. Sorry, left.
The Treaty of NATO also says that most of the countries in it should be giving America 2% of their GDP for us protecting them. And that's not happening.
That's not what it says. It says they have to spend 2% of their GDP on their own military.
On their
it's not a cash grab for America, man.
I forgot.
Yeah, they're supposed to be able to defend themselves or at least have an army.
Something. But here's the funny
and then recently,
the only one doing it is actually Greece.
So what will the U.S. do if Russia overtakes Ukraine? We'll watch football, drink beer, and maybe grill hot dogs.
Literally has nothing to do with America.
It literally will not affect us at all.
It has nothing to do with us.
This is a hangover leftover of the Zabrinsky fucking, not Zavinsky, whatever the fuck his name is, Mika's dad. The guy who created the fucking Mujahideen for us. That piece of shit. Zbigniew Brzezinski. And fucking the Clintons, who I love and never say anything bad about, Obama, all of those fucking neo-libs who are fucking have a hard-on for fucking Russia. And they want war with Russia more than anything else in their fucking brains.
It's like they don't understand the Soviet Union collapsed.
They don't get it.
Years ago. Yeah, see, Russia is not going to invade Poland. And what will it go further? Everyone always does the what ifs. I'm going to quote President Trump when he's talking to Zelensky. What if a bomb landed on your head right now? Let's not play what ifs. Russia has never in any way insinuated that they intend to go any further. However, they spent 3 years letting everybody know they were going into Ukraine.
Yeah.
I mean,
and for specific
there
reasons,
was no joke about it. And people on the left seem to forget that Joe Biden basically gave them his blessing
Yeah.
When he's like, well, if it's a small incursion, then
Yeah, it's a small incursion.
So
but
he
it's
basically
okay.
said, go ahead. But Russia's not going to go any further. I mean, Russia is not wanting to fight Poland, let alone the rest of Europe. They're not wanting that. They are mad because, one, and this is something Putin said, you can look the quote up. To Putin, Ukraine is the apple of his eye. He loves Ukraine, which is why he's not leveling every city just nonstop willy-nilly like he does everywhere else. And two, he will not stand for a NATO unit bordering Russia, which is actually, I think, a little too late. Is Finland in NATO?
No, Finland. I don't think Finland. I think Finland's joining NATO.
Yeah, Poland has been armed to the damn teeth, and they are just like, yeah, they're like Russia or Germany, come get it. You know what I mean? The Poles, and they're doing everything they can to build up their population and to increase the patriotism of the young men in Poland. I mean, Poland is really a masterclass of how to take a country that has been beat down and turn it around into a country you don't want to F with.
Ukraine has been a country for less amount of time than Poland has existed as nations given all of its runs. Like, this idea that the Ukrainians are someone else drives me up the wall. They're fucking Russians, the Kievan Rus. Like, what the fuck do people think that means? This is an interior, not our business fight between two Slavic fucking peoples.
Brothers. It's a brother war.
Yeah, why are we sticking our dick in it? Our fucking commander, an idiot, stood up, oh, we will continue to support the Ukraine. Shut up, Justine.
Because boomers in America, but I guess apparently all over the whole world, have a hard-on with wanting World War III, I guess.
They really do. Like, they really fucking do.
Yeah, in the Baltic countries, you listen to those guys, and they're always like, Russia's going to invade us at any time. And it's like, the Russians
Romanian
laugh
friends
about it.
We're going to get every month in Romania, they get some new news article telling them that Russia's going to invade it by June. Russia's going to invade by August. Russia's going to invade by Christmas. It's like, holy fuck.
Right?
They were going to invade for 3 years straight now.
Yeah. Romania, was it Romania or Bulgaria? The EU member state that had a whole election just nullified by Belgium because the Belgians didn't like the way the election came out. And then when, Vance called them out on it, they freaking had a guy crying on stage. And it's like, these are our allies, people who cry on stage and stuff. What's up, Shadow? How you doing, man?
Hey, Shadow, what's up, man?
Apparently, our allies are the people who come here, disrespect us, and treat us like crap.
Yeah. The Baltic states, you are right, because what's the name of the city that's actually surrounded by like Poland or one of the Baltic states, but it's actually part of
Talk about Lithuania.
Russia. It's in one of these other countries, but it's part of Russia, but you have to drive through the other country to get to.
You're talking about Kaliningrad.
Kaliningrad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the Zenith universe,
which used to be
that
Danzig.
and a bit of it around it is Imperial Russia in my world. Haha.
Yeah, which used to be Danzig. Chilling like a villain. That's cool. The Romanian, election, which was bullshit.
Sorry, the Balkans, the Baltics.
Why does the USA support
You can sit there and
Taiwan?
go, listen, you can say Romania is down in the Balkans. It's not the same as the Baltics. But that whole region of Eastern Europe, they're all saying the same shit. The Russians are going to invade us by June. Like, it's insane. All of them are saying the same shit.
Well, it's how
And the worst part is there's a whole bunch of people over there that are going, please invade us. Please come save us from this fucking Western freedom that's making us starve.
My wife was just watching an interview where they were interviewing a Ukrainian woman who was literally saying she's glad that Putin invaded where she lived because now she gets like all the Russian, safety nets and like all, because apparently if you're a Russian citizen, you get like medical and dental and all kinds of shit. It's not bad. Yeah, but Romania is down in the Balkans. The Baltic. I know that. I know.
No, he's giving me shit because I was talking about my Romanian friends, and he said you guys are talking about the Baltics, but the Balkans are being the exact same way as the Baltics.
Yeah, it's the same way.
It's the same way. And by the way, Romania's not like it's not like it's fucking the width of Canada away from the Baltics. You know what I mean? It's big, but it ain't that big.
Romania and the Baltics is Poland.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
And Ukraine has been a country all told for about 25 years. There was a point back in the 1700s or whenever when Ukraine was part of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. But not all of Ukraine, just the western part of Ukraine.
And wasn't the Ukraine a gift from Catherine the Great? Didn't she like give them their first nation as like, we like you guys here, be your own kingdom type thing?
Yeah, there it could have been. There's been the history of Ukraine is really weird. I mean, it goes back to like 600 AD with the.
Oh, my bad. Sorry, Catherine the Great was the one who incorporated most of it back into Russia from the not the Cossack, the Cossacks.
Right. Ukraine, they call them the Donbass Cossacks, the Don Cossacks. Because you have the Volga Cossacks too. I'm not sure what the difference is, but
I'm sure it matters to them for shooting each other in the face.
Right.
Because that seems to be like Yugoslavia. We were all like Yugoslavian. We get it. And then they're like, no, I'm Kosovoan, I'm Serbian, I'm Bosnian, I'm Albanian, I'm this and that. Okay, why are you all killing each other? What the fuck is this about?
Religion. I can tell you why.
Exactly.
Because I had a Serbian brother-in-law who happened to be of military age back in like 89, 90. That era where some things happened in the mountains around Serbia and other places. And
hey, Hungar.
Hey, it's Hungar.
So, it's Hungar, the Starvarian. Wow, that's some hair.
Geesh, your hair looks worse than mine.
It's dinner time, but I saw that you were on and I wanted to come on and say hi so you didn't think I was abusing you.
Are Lithuanians and Latvians even Slavs?
I don't know.
I don't think they're even Slavs. I mean, the Jorgens Vikings came.
No, Lithuanians are not Slavic. They are Baltic people who took part of the Indo-European language group.
Right. They're not. Yeah, they're not even Slavs.
You said Lithuanians, and who was the other one? Latvians. Yeah,
Latvia and Estonia.
No, Estonians are fucking Nordic. They're Scandi. And the fucking I swear to God, talk to Saxus about this because he's from Denmark. The fucking Scandi League, right? So Finland, Denmark, Norway, and Sweden are absolutely in love with Scotland for some reason and keep trying to get Scotland to join the Scandinavian League. But the Estonians, where blue eyes come from in Caucasians, which is the signature of the Viking Scandinavian people, the blonde hair, blue-eyed thing. Every time the Estonians are like, we would like to join, they're like, shut up, Estonia, fuck you. Like, they fucking hate Estonia for some reason. I watched some videos on Estonia. It looks like a great place to live.
COD Inferno, we are brothers.
No, Latvians are not Slavic either.
Yeah, I didn't think they were. I know in like World War II, they fought pretty hard for the Austrian and had like SS units and such. So they were one of the last to surrender, actually, to the Red Army.
The only reason I know I have no Slavic blood in me. I haven't got the nose and I don't have the chin.
And you have no desire to squat.
I don't know. I don't particularly enjoy squatting. No.
You don't know enough.
And I'm more of a Reebok, Nike fan.
Yeah, you don't have enough Adidas stuff.
Yeah, I'm not.
How do you feel about Sanichi?
What?
Sunflower seeds.
They make a mess. People are always spitting the shells out, making a mess. So that's pretty nasty.
Yeah, you're not Slavic.
How you like
No.
vodka?
Vodka's fine. Take it or leave it. I prefer Scotch.
And besides that, all the most
I'm more of a
popular
whiskey
brands of
fan.
vodka are made in the Baltic.
If Estonia
nations
didn't eat
anyway.
gross food with jam on the side, then they are not Nordic. Do not start the fucking Nordic food traditions, George. You're a Greek. Stay down there with your calamari and otherwise you're going to get a whiff of pickled herring and you're going to be like, what the fuck's wrong with the Swedes?
Or that one fish that comes in a can that's fermented for 100 years?
Oh, they eat it every year here in America, that lutefish.
No, that's
Lutefish.
worse than lutefish. It's like strumpets or something, and it's supposed to be like the most foul-smelling thing ever.
Well, I mean, on one of those Scandinavian places, they eat like fermented sharks.
Well, that's the only way they can eat them because they're poisonous on their other word. They
Look,
gotta let the meat
George,
rot.
we're not talking about Clan Carl from Vampire right now.
Yeah,
Samisi. What about the Samisi?
the what?
I don't know. George wants to talk about the Samisi. I don't know. I think that's what he's talking
Yeah,
about.
we call them Clan George.
Why do you call him Clan George?
Because the name is too hard to pronounce.
I call him
I
Clan
heard it's
Carl.
just Zamichi.
No, but okay, listen. We're not speaking that language. You don't call it Paris. You call it Paris. Relax.
I call it Little Mecca.
Little Mecca. Jesus.
Paris. Yeah, as they say in Paris, assalamu alaikum, my brother. Anyway, yeah, it's like when the war started, a lot of Americans were like dumping their Stoli because they didn't know that Stoli was made in like Estonia
Yeah.
or Latvia or some shit. It's
Yeah.
like, you think all vodka is made in Russia? I mean,
Oh, in fact, Polskoye is made in Poland.
right. You've got I mean, it's just clear alcohol. I mean,
People are stupid, dude. Like, okay. I have a friend of mine. She's Finnish, and she told me back in the '80s when they were young. You know, they were like in the '80s, early '90s. They would do this thing where they would take these cruises from Finland across the Baltic to Estonia, because you could buy liquor in Estonia at 18, but you couldn't in Finland, right? Or something stupid like that. So they would buy all this vodka in Estonia, but when they would cross the line on the Baltic into Finnish waters again, there would always be a customs boat waiting for them to see what people were trying to bring back in, and there was a whole problem. So they would dump anything they had left by the time they, like, the captain would, you know, on the party ship would sound the horn, and all these fucking Finnish people would be dumping bottles of vodka full into the Baltic Sea. So somewhere at the bottom of the Baltic Sea, because this ship would go like 3 times a week, there's an area right by the Finnish border that's probably got like 10,000 unopened bottles of Stoli just sitting there, you know, just down there in the sea, perfectly chilled.
just, you know.
Well, I'm going to go eat dinner. I made goulash.
All right, you have fun.
All right, bye, Hunger.
I gotta go too. It's time for me to eat.
And like
All
they
right,
say in
go
Paris, everybody,
Hey.
assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam. But so I will say one thing too. Another thing I'm going to say that might be a little bit controversial, but not really. Have any of you guys noticed, and Bear probably not because you don't watch other videos much, how many of the big name L5 or not L5 5e D&D guys are making like 5e hate videos these days?
No, I haven't seen that. I tend not to play. Like, who's doing this?
George Stormivore, Jordan, Esper
Jordan
the
with the
Bard.
PH.
Yeah, Jordan with an H, Esper the Bard. Like, I mean, you know, the was it something I said? The usual suspects are, of course, holding the line. Even Bob Worldbuilder has kind of been hypercritical of 6th edition. It's like something about that edition some people just do not like. They're just not happy with it. Now, what that could be, I don't know. It could be anything. But yeah, there's a lot of people out there that are just like, nah, not doing it. And then a lot of people are just saying they're going to stick to old 5e and not worry about it because it's like, I guess their new thing is I eat at 5 every day. I guess their new thing is that you're going to buy books, but then some books are going to be online. And the books that are online that you buy, they can change at any time on a whim.
Well, and I mean, the thing is, this is a massive mistake for WotC. This was a huge mistake for WotC. Uh-oh. Well, I guess we're talking about fucking Palladium now. Nerdy Ogre's here.
Hey, you brought it up, not me.
Yeah. I'm just cutting you off before you get a chance to start whipping your pee-dick around. It does mega damage. Look out, ladies.
Isn't mega damage just like one standard damage?
No. You got it backwards.
Or reverse.
It's 100. Mega damage is 100.
100, yeah.
The example he gives...
Literally the stupidest fucking thing they did in Palladium that basically made backwards compatibility with like Palladium Fantasy and shit really difficult. So then they updated Palladium Fantasy. And it's like, you can't... No, mega damage is a Rifts thing. Leave it in fucking Rifts, please. Oh, well. Anyway.
And they're like, no. We will have all the mega damage.
Yeah, all of it. You get every single drop of it. But I think WotC really fucked up on this one. I think they thought it was going to be a bigger deal than it was because they couldn't read the fucking room.
Right.
And they didn't understand that the COVID bump was over and they should just be settling into supporting the audience they have as opposed to trying to grab this massive new audience. But the guy from Microsoft and the lady from Microsoft and the other person from Microsoft all got in charge of that shit. And, didn't understand. Doesn't understand what they were getting. It's like Kathleen Kennedy when she got up and said, it's very hard to make Star Wars movies because we don't have, 800-page books and comics to draw on. Really?
Like just a year ago, you completely decanonized.
Yeah, like a year before she said that statement, Lucasfilm, through her office, decanonized all expanded universe stuff. Like,
Dan Violence, I have not heard that, but if I have no reason to think you would lie, that's effed up. If you buy a physical book and they change the online version 3 times, with freaking Games Workshop does that shit. They'll sell you a codec for an army and then immediately put out freaking updates that completely invalidate the freaking codex that you just spent $50 on.
1984 D&D edition.
Yeah, the 1984 D&D edition. It's like,
what do you mean?
Who knew we would be playing Paranoia?
The main character in 1984, his job.
Oh, you mean the memory hole? Yeah.
His job. Anytime the fearless leader said anything, his job was to make sure that all the history books lined in with what he said.
Yeah, no, I get the reference. I was trying to when you said the 1984 D&D edition, I thought you were referring to like some D&D that was released in 1984.
Oh.
I didn't catch the reference.
It was more than changing it to what he said. He had to change it to make sure that the leader, Big Brother, was always right.
Yeah.
So if Big Brother said in an interview that they were going to be able to increase chocolate to 2 grams per person, but then they only increased it to 1 gram, then he would have to go back and memory hold the 2 gram and replace it with the 1 gram.
Yeah, or the whole thing of 1 week they lower your chocolate ration by 3 grams, and then a week later they raise it by 1, and it's all got to be, congratulations, your chocolate rations has been increased by 1 gram, and they got to make a big stink about it and make sure the back stuff is erased. Yeah.
Right.
But regardless of that,
of course,
what version of D&D was available in 1984? First edition AD&D? Beck me? Well, Beck maybe. Basic Expert was out in 84 for sure. It was Was Companion and Masters?
Well, you had the Moldvay Cook version. That
was already out of print. That was already out of print at that point.
Yeah, I got that in 83, I think.
Yeah, 84 Beckme was like the basic set was already out by 84.
Mincer version, opinions on giving money to Israel. So we're not making comparisons here. But if I had my way, Call of Duty guy, I wouldn't give money to anybody. You know? But
yeah, 83 was when the basic set came out.
I guess if you're mad that we give money to Israel, Ukraine needs a better lobbying group in America, and that short little rat-faced guy did not do them any favors. Current polls show that Trump is more popular than ever. Zelensky is more hated than ever, and even Lindsey freaking I love Zelensky and cup his balls while I blow him. Graham came out and said, no, fuck that guy.
Don't forget to cup the balls.
Right. I mean, Lindsey Graham has been the biggest war hawk for Ukraine for years. And he came out and was like, no, fuck Zelensky.
My favorite part of that whole thing was J.D. Vance asking him if he even owned a suit. That was my favorite part.
Do you own a suit? I mean, you're in the Oval Office. Not mad, just curious, saying in a good way. Like I said, one thing about the Israelis is they have an amazing lobbying system in the U.S. So, yeah, they're going to get money. Don't worry about it. But that's how the U.S. works. Is it fair? Maybe not. But if you've got a shit ton of people lobbying for a thing, the chances that you get it are good. Plus, if we're talking about the October thing, that's not comparable. Russia going in to defend the Donbass from being massacred by Ukraine is not comparable to a bunch of Hamas guys going in and freaking murdering a bunch of civilians and then having a dance party when they give the bodies back. There has to be gentlemanly behavior during war. I mean, there has to be. Little Marco could lend him a suit. That should fit. That's true. Marco is little. But, yeah. But, yeah, my actual opinion on us giving money is when you're trillions of dollars in debt, you shouldn't really be giving anybody anything. Right? That's just where I am on that. Yeah. Nobody needs anything.
Star Trek had a whole episode of the dangers of making war civilized.
Yeah, where you just reported to the machine.
You got to report to the machines for extermination. Yeah.
It was nice. It was painless. It was clean.
Oh, it's almost like the original Star Trek was written by writers who had thoughts and experiences to draw upon, and maybe had survived a world war, or maybe even Korea, and thought, hey, war sucks. Maybe we should really pay attention to this shit.
Maybe even fought in some of those wars.
Well, yeah. James Doohan, I think it was his left hand. He always
He claims so. There's a two story on that one. One, he says he lost it in World War II. His wife says he accidentally cut it off while working in the garden. Like that's what she said. You know what I mean? But it's like, who knows, right? Like that could just be his wife being like, fuck you, James. I'm gonna fuck with you. So who knows?
Okay. I didn't hear the garden thing. I just heard that his left hand is always hidden because
he was a decorated Canadian soldier.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Do I think Israel's killing too much? I might have thought Israel was killing too much until they turned over the corpses of the children and Hamas was dancing in the street with the music blaring and civilians holding their little babies were out there dancing along with it. At which point I said, yeah, no one is innocent.
Did you see Hassan got banner? You know about Hassan Piker? Who's
I think he
did he get banned? Because I know that next has been doing his award-winning series on exactly how effed Hassan Piker is. Now, the real question is, does he deserve to be banned? And the real answer is absolutely.
Hassan Piker, it was banned for urging his people to kill Senator Rick Scott of Florida.
Yeah.
It was not a joke. Ocelot, it was not a joke.
It was not a joke. There was no joke there. That guy's never joking. He's a horrible person.
It wasn't a joke. It wasn't a slip of the tongue. It wasn't.
If you really cared about Medicare fraud or Medicaid fraud, you would kill Rick Scott.
Yep.
Wow. I hate that fucking guy, by the way. Him
yeah,
and
Hassan
his uncle.
Piker's the worst.
And his uncle, fucking Cenk Uygur. I hate both of them.
Chunk. And he's always
Anna.
trying to
I love that Anna's slowly moving away from the left, though. I'm watching Anna fucking Kasparian move right.
Well, you know, being SA'd while walking down the street will do that.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, your opinions about certain things will start changing.
Well, her whole interview on that, where she was talking to that NPR lady, where she's saying, like, and all my friends were calling me racist, and I never even said what race the guy was, and he was white. You know what I mean? Like, that's the best part of it all, is that all these fucking lefties immediately accused her of being racist. You know, it's like the woman got SA'd. Maybe you don't want to start accusing her of being a racist for, you know, like, that's not the time.
Well, I mean, Piker has, did he say in Minecraft? No, he did not. He later went back and tried to backtrack a little bit, but no. He needs a perma ban. When he had the guy from, what's the Yemeni group?
Who's the W?
The Houthi or whatever?
Houthi, yeah, the Houthi.
Yeah, he had one of those assholes on his stream for an interview, and they were talking about this guy, I guess, was involved with hijacking a Japanese cargo ship or a Chinese cargo ship or some shit. It's like, he is the absolute worst. And what's amazing about him is the idiots that like believe him. That dude grew up ultra rich in Turkey. His family are ultra rich.
Yeah.
And there are pictures of him in his full English riding gear on his horse when he's a kid. Yeah. And here's the other thing. He's always talking about colonizers. Well, the last time I looked at history, the Turks did not come from Cappadocia.
No, they did not.
They come from north of China. So how is this asshole talking about colonizers while he's sitting in what used to be the cradle of ancient Hellenistic culture and renamed Constantinople to frickin' Istanbul?
And that's one of the weird things about the Anna Kasparian working with Cenk for so long, because she's Armenian. And
the Turks,
the Armenians and the Turks
Armenians
are not buddies. You know what I mean? Like, the Armenian genocide was a pretty brutal fucking thing. And the Young Turks, the term for his show, is the term for the assholes who carried out that genocide.
Yep. The ones that killed all of the Christians were called the Young Turks. And the way they killed them is they tied them up and dumped them head first in the barrels of water. And that was to make a mockery out of the baptism.
Anyway.
So it was absolute evil.
I'm hotting the caller, so I'm going to go, because I'm fucking getting pissy now, and I'm going to say something I'm going to regret. So I'm going to go and find my happy spot.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Except you'll never win another Stanley Cup again. Just give it up.
Well, no, because you got all our best players. And our best teams, except for a couple, right?
It's like, if you're a Canadian and somebody says you could live in Florida and we'll give you a sack of money, you can buy whatever you want, live in the warm state, do whatever you want, or you can stay your ass in Saskatchewan. You do what you want to do, brother.
So here's the thing. There's not enough money for me to live in Florida. Okay.
Well, I just think
if you picked a different state, you might have had a case to make for me. Like, all the money I want, and I get to live in, I don't know, Ohio,
Texas.
Tennessee, Texas.
No, not Texas. No. Any place that's super hot and covered in insects for most of the year is not of interest to me.
Okay, Bear, you can live wherever you want, and we're going to give you bags of money.
Alaska.
Yeah, go ahead. and we're going to give
No,
you
they had a big
bags of
mosquito
money,
problem too.
and you're going to play on a team that's probably going to win a Stanley Cup.
I'll probably take Seattle. Actually, I'll go play for the fucking what do they call the Seattle team? What's that fucking team in Seattle called?
I'm a Bruins fan, so
Fuck you. Sorry, Montreal.
Sweet Caroline.
Sorry. I couldn't. That was Montreal coming through, man. That's nothing
Right.
to do about that.
That
Like, it's really
rivalry.
funny. In Canada, we have a bunch of Canadian teams, right? And they
Right.
all think they are the rivals of the Montreal Canadiens. So Ottawa thinks the Montreal Canadiens. Quebec, when they had a team, thought they were the rivals of the Canadiens. Winnipeg, Calgary, the fucking the Canucks out in BC, all this kind of stuff. They all think they're the fucking rival of the Montreal Canadiens. It's like, no, there's only and has been and only ever will be one rival for the Montreal Canadiens, and that, my friend, is the Boston fucking Bruins. The Kraken. That's what
They
call
are
them.
kind of the rudest crowd ever to play at, really.
The
Boston.
Boston.
Go sports.
Yeah, they're terrible. They're terrible.
Anyway, I gotta go.
All right.
See you guys later.
See
Have
ya.
a good one.
The New Jersey Devils, yeah. Turkish colonized most of the world, yep, and killed anyone who didn't convert. And yet this Turkish, super rich, grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth, Twitch streamer will get on and talk about colonizers and bullshit like this and how the rich should die while he's driving around in one of the highest end Porsche vehicles you can buy. Right? And my ass don't even got a car. You know, my wife has it. I mean, we got a one-car family over here.
Honestly,
I'm living in this house doing my thing, and this guy's going to preach to me about how evil I am, and him, a multi-millionaire, living in a multi-million-dollar apartment with the top of the line Porsche vehicle ever, and then talk shit about colonizers and get the ask. And I my brother-in-law, before he had to go home for stupid reasons under Biden, is Serbian, and he has told me many stories about what it's like to grow up in Serbia, especially back in 88, 87, 89, you know, when they were all killing each other. And the one thing he hated more than anything on the planet was Turks. Well, he called Albanians Turks, though. To him, an Albanian was just a Turk. And they hate the Turks because of how horrible the Turks were throughout history. Like, they would enslave them and, you know, just do the most brutal, horrible shit you can think of. And, you know, that's why the Serbians changed their name. It was originally the Servians. That's where the word servant comes from. Slav is where the word slave comes from. And it's because of the Turks. They imported more slaves than America could ever dream of. But see, they figured out how to deal with the slave population, and that was you castrate all the males. So right now in Turkey, you don't have this huge subclass of black people hanging out bitching about being slaves because the Turks had all the male slaves castrated. So, you know, problem solved, I guess, right? Did you see the news where a man from Florida threw acid on an Indian nurse because he hates Indian? Why would anyone hate Indians? I did not see the news. I do not doubt it, Call of Duty guy, because Florida, where I live in Orlando. Florida is the Australia of America. If something effed up is going to happen anywhere, it's going to happen in Florida. You can count on it. Yep.
I have a question. Which type of Indian are we talking about?
Yeah. Did he hate, like,
Is it
you know?
Is it hello, thank you for calling tech support, or is it hey, welcome to my casino Indian?
We have a lot of gypsies where you are, quite literally property, and unlike America, there is no freeing movement for them. Turks just enslaved them for hundreds of years. They were with the land, and that was it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you want to, if you really want to get in to Greek means slave too. Yeah, the Hellene. But all of Turkey was Hellenic. Even Crimea, for the longest time, was part of the Hellenic culture group until it was eventually Slavanized by Slavs that converted to Orthodoxy. So, and that's really the difference between the East and the West. Is Western Europe is Latin Europe, and Eastern Europe is Greek Europe, or Hellenic Europe, however you want to say it. Yeah, so they would import. Plus, here's the other thing, because like I said, the Ottomans imported millions and millions of slaves. And the thing is a castrated slave is worth 10 times as much as a non-castrated slave, right? So when they would have their giant slave trains moving across Africa to be shipped to the Ottoman Empire, say they had 1,000 slaves that they'd purchased, they would just castrate them. And if 8 out of the 10 died, it didn't matter. Because the ones that survived that brutal castration, and I mean nuts and all, eunuch, right, were worth more than all of the ones that died combined. They did horrible shit. They wanted to not stop the slave trade. So the British started patrolling to make them stop. And when they would see a British ship on the horizon coming after them, they would just throw the slaves overboard. But they didn't unchain them. Because the idea is if a British ship caught you with slaves, they impounded your ship and threw you in jail. So they would just throw the slaves overboard and right to the bottom. But everyone's so concerned about, slavery in America. But yeah, the shit the Ottomans did, plus like Bear said, an actual genocide against all the Christians. They're just horrible people. And then you've got Hassan Piker, a Turk, on TV trying to act like he's the victim. And it's like, dude, you come from the colonizer group that destroyed everything and killed everyone that refused to bend the knee. You're the group that makes people pay to live in the country if they're not Islamic, But you're going to sit in America making millions upon millions of dollars and whining about healthcare. Not that you would ever have to worry about, like me, a working man would, because you were born into a multimillionaire family. And I'm sure they did not make their money in any good way. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's weird too, because Greece and Turkey are both in NATO and they hate each other. You know what I mean? So you've got 2 NATO members that hate each other. Zelensky screwed us over on the heavy metals thing, but that's okay because Vladimir Putin offered a better deal to Trump. Apparently, the Russians got a shit ton of heavy metal too, and they're 100% willing to work with us on if we're willing to send the people to dig it out and split the money with Russia. They're willing to. So, I mean, at this point, if you're American, Russia would make a better ally than Europe or Ukraine. I mean, the Norwegians refusing to refuel our submarine, right then it's like, fuck you guys. We're out. I hope you get invaded by the Germans again. I mean, the last time they invaded you, it took them a week to take over your whole country.
I mean, okay.
And we're not stepping in this time. You guys can just get F'd in the A.
I heard it was a nuclear submarine because everybody's Norway
it was
refused
the
to.
USS Virginia, a nuclear submarine. But the thing with nuclear submarines is they still carry an amount of fuel for backup generators and stuff. Because there's always the
Okay.
like, remember what happened to the Kursk. There's always the chance the reactor will go out. And if you ain't got the backup generators, you're in trouble. Because ultimately, the whole thing runs on steam. The whole point of a nuclear reactor is to generate heat to turn water into steam, and then the steam is used to turn turbines that create electricity, and then everything in the submarine's powered by electricity. It's not like somehow magically the radiation makes things work. It don't.
Yeah, no. I get how nuclear reactors.
Oh, we still haven't figured out, reading the comments, whether the Indian guy that got attacked in Florida was native or
no. He was in India.
India.
Sit down there.
Oh, that makes sense though. We do have a lot of like people from India that work in the medical field. I mean, the guy who saved my mom's life by removing her basketball-sized cancerous tumor.
Yeah, it's right there.
Was a Sikh guy. So, I mean, me personally, because of that's a thing that happened in my life, I tend to have kind of a, let's say, a more like beneficial opinion of the Sikh and whatever. Because if that guy had not been so good at the surgery and operating around all those arteries and veins in her midsection, she'd died. But now she's alive and doing better than ever. And yeah, the tumor they moved from her was as big as a basketball. So yeah, so I'm okay with it. You know, if you want to have a Sikh doctor, have a Sikh doctor. I've never had a bad experience with those guys. So why some idiot in Florida would throw acid on one of them? Well, first off, what kind of idiot in Florida was it? We got a lot of idiots down here. I mean, we've got your typical redneck idiots that'll go out into the swamp and wrestle crocodiles and shit like that. And, you know, I'm talking about your hold my beer idiots. But then we've got immigrants from all over the whole world. Oh, he just went out. So we got a lot of idiots down here. I mean, we've got people down here who will break into your house in the middle of the night, cook themselves breakfast, and shave your cat's head, and then leave. And no one will ever know why. Because welcome to Florida, man. I think that I've heard that some people hate India. I don't hate India. As a matter of fact, there's a guy who has joined my stream multiple times who lives in northern India. Agrim is his name. And Agrim has joined the stream multiple times. He's a young man. He's still studying, you know, going to school, whatever. And I don't hate. Why would I hate? And I mean, the only thing I dislike about some Indians is the really nationalistic ones that try to argue against the Aryan invasion, which we know through actual science and archaeology is a fact. It happened. You're agreeing. See? So yeah, I don't understand why anyone agreeing. You got me, but you heard the truth, even though you were in. You were all in surprise. Like, yeah, I don't hate Indians. I can't understand why anyone would. But arguing that tribes from the Indo-European people didn't move across Persia into northern India and wipe out a bunch of people, that's stupid because we know it happened. And we have actual artifacts proving that it happened.
Yeah, I never understood.
They have 104 billion people. If they all come to the West, what will we do? I think we'll do what J.D. Vance did, is we'll marry the hot Indian women and have kids. And in a few generations, they'll either look like light-skinned Sikhs or white people. I mean, that's what would happen. You know, I mean,
fair enough.
So, and me personally, when I was young, I had a thing for the Hispanic ladies. So a hot light-skinned Indian girl do too. I mean, I like the black hair and everything. So, I mean, which is weird because I've been married for 20-something years to a short little Danish blonde. But Indian food is amazing. Since I can't eat so much rice anymore, I now, when I make a Goa-style vindaloo, I eat it over chickpeas, which is actually better for you because it's like pure protein, you know. But by Goa style vindaloo, that just means I use pork shoulder diced up, because the original recipe for vindaloo was pork shoulder. But because so many people in India are Muslim, they now it's most common to find chicken or lamb vindaloo. But yeah, you don't get the beef vindaloo because the Hindis won't eat the beef. But
Yeah,
originally, it was a Spanish dish that got Indianized, and it was made out of pork. Anti-American thoughts are rising here. Well, I mean, you know, India has been forced due to many different complex things that, you know, I can't really explain, to start being closer to China and Russia. Things that, you know, if it were up to me, like I said, if Vladimir Putin is telling America they got heavy earth materials and they're willing to work a deal, I'm saying freaking do it, you know, knock it out.
Yeah, I mean,
the
man ran on the platform of America first, and sorry, it's like when you invite, when there's a conflict and you invite a guy over to, okay, let's talk peace, and he's like, no, I don't want. He literally said he didn't want peace. He wanted, so no, it's like the whole thing is to stop
he don't
war,
want peace.
stop
He wants
killing.
victory,
right?
But it's like you're not going to win, and we're not getting drug into World War III for you.
Right.
Now, Ocelot, I will tell you this: most Indians, especially the ones that live in the north, are Indo-European people, right? So when you worry about race, are you worrying about your particular specific tribe, or are you looking at the big picture, the Indo-European race, which is pretty much everyone from the mid of the Altai Mountains all the way to Ireland and all the way down to northern India, including most of the Middle East? I've spent a year plus in the Middle East, and let me tell you, some of those people walking down the street in Iran, or not Iran, Iraq, are as white as I am, because they're Indo-Europeans. Now, some are mixed with African, you know, or whatever here and there, but ultimately, yeah. I mean, Indians, a lot of Indians are technically white. I mean, they are white guys. The guy who worked on my mom, who was a Sikh, who grew up in northern India, he was as white as I am. So what am I supposed to do? Be racist against a white guy because he worships different gods? No, it's not my nature. Plus, I mean, my brother already has a bunch of kids with black women, so you know what I'm saying? I come from a already racially misogyninated, you know, those boys is misogyninated. Yeah, so I can't really talk any shit. Well, Modi of India, regardless of what you think about him, and for any other reason, the main thing to remember about Modi is he wants to sell shit. He has a country with 1 billion people willing to work their asses off to make whatever you want made. And he wants to sell it. And if he had his way, he would undercut the Chinese big time. Modi really wishes we would stop dealing with China so much to buy electronics and shit and just buy it from him. And there's a whole thing of animated commercials that the Indians made where they depicted the Chinese as basically douchebags, and Modi was always like standing there looking all happy, and then like American businessmen were coming to him instead of going to China, and they were buying refrigerators and all this shit, and he was just happy. And then like it had like the Sanskrit writing, but also English. And it was just basically saying India is open for business. You know what I'm saying? So my ancestors are from Tibet. See, I'll tell you something that's weird is the Yahtzees, that like little Austrian mustache man, they were convinced their ancestors were from Tibet too. They literally sent archaeologists from the Third Reich to Tibet and claimed that that's the birthplace of the Aryan people, Tibet. Do I know any of this? No. I mean, I'm mostly Germanic and Russian and whatever, Polish. So whatever, you know. When I got my DNA test back, it didn't even say anything. It just said assorted crackers. You know, it's like, okay, I'm from Northern Europe, from one side all the way over to the other side. You know, so yeah, you didn't know that there was a whole branch of the Yahtzees that were into like occultism, and they were going around measuring heads and doing all kinds of weird shit. And that, yeah, technically, according to the Germans, if you're Tibetan, you're part of the ancient Aryan thing. But Iran, which was originally called Persia, they changed their name to Iran because in their language, Iran means Aryan. Look it up. It's a fact. I am from me too. As a matter of fact, I am from the mountains where supposedly deep in the holler, there are people who will straight up eat you. So whatever, stay out of them hollers. As a matter of fact, there's a myth that, or maybe it's not a myth, that the word holler in the native Cherokee language was a disparaging thing and also a warning thing. Like if a native Cherokee told you something about the hollers, it was not good. You know what I mean? It's like, you don't want to go down there. Hyperborea, which is probably Greenland, they think, which will soon be called Trump land or Marjorie Taylor Greenland. I mean, you know, it's like, and here's the thing. A lot of people, you see them on TV and they're like, I'm from Greenland and I never, ever want to be part of America. But what they're not showing you is a lot of people in Greenland are like, we would love to be part of America. You know what I mean? Yeah. But they don't show you the citizens of Greenland. They're like, fuck yeah, let's do this thing. You know, America will be a territory. You can send us billions of dollars a year, because they barely get any money from Denmark. You know what I mean? And Denmark's constantly having to send them money just so they can survive, right? So if they become part of America, them dudes will be freaking, here's all the Medicare and welfare checks and everything you ever needed forever. Plus, we're going to build Navy bases all over the fucking place. And if you work outside a Navy base, guess what? You know, you can open businesses and make shit tons of money off of sailors. Maybe open up a brothel. I don't support, you know, of course, prostitutes, but hey, do your thing.
Your body, your choice.
Where are the Aryans from? I don't think anyone knows. I'm pretty sure those
over there
they were from Tibet. Yeah, and then you could just make it either part of Alaska or even its own state if it wanted to be.
What? I don't have the
what even makes an Aryan
blonde hair, blue eyes, I was always told. Yeah, I don't have the
there's a lot of occultic bullshit that goes along with it. You know what I mean? Like I said, a lot of the Yahtzee dudes were super into like weird occult bullshit and like Tholian magic and like crazy shit. The Northern Ural Mountains are where the Caucasians come from. They think. But the thing you have to remember is, as Caucasians, we're already hybridized because we are part Neanderthal, maybe even part, what are the other ones that lived in Russia? Desovian. We may not even be related to anyone that came from Africa. You know, there's some people who are already debunking the out of Africa theory altogether. And the main reason is the development of melanin in your skin. That's a development. That's not like we didn't lose the melanin. The Africans gained it at some point, because at some point, pale skinned people were running around Africa and they're like, God, dog, getting sunburned every day sucks balls. So, mutations and whatever happened, and they adapted and they got melanin. Awesome. And but what makes an Aryan? You can't even say it's blue eyes and blonde hair, because you can find blue eyes and blonde hair basically everywhere. The occultic Germans thought it had something to do with the skull shape. And that's why they were obsessed with measuring skulls. And they were. If you go back and look at research, they were constantly measuring the skulls of people and classifying people on like a hierarchy based on the skull shapes. Slavs were considered a lesser people, Untermensch, because apparently the Slavic skull shape is not the right skull shape. So even though Slavs are as white as anybody and have blonde hair and blue eyes and everything, because the Slavic skull shape ain't quite where it should be, Untermensch. Professor Michael Wood from Manchester, Britain, did a fantastic documentary series called The Story of India. Right, yeah. Yeah, we know, because there were no horses in India. And then all of a sudden in northern India, where the city builders lived, they vanished. It was like they were there for like 1,000 years. They built these perfect, gridded cities out of mud, baked mud blocks. They were doing their thing. And then one day they ceased to exist. And then the next thing you know, there's this whole kingdom up there where they're burying their kings with horses, because they were wain riders. They rode in wagons and chariots. And they were, whether they were from Persia, Ukraine, whatever it was, they come from one of those regions right there in Central Europe or Central Asia, and they went right down there and just effed everything up.
Well, you said something earlier. You were talking about how the whole debate of humanity coming from Africa was being debunked.
It's now
being contested.
Yeah, it's being questioned.
Because I've been taught that Earth started out as Pangea, like there's just one supercontinent.
That is the theory.
So then, technically, one supercontinent. All of life began on this one supercontinent. And then whenever the continents, whatever peoples were here went this way, and whatever peoples were here went this way. And,
yeah, but I don't
because
think that humanity existed while Pangea was around. That's kind of a thing. Pangea was so many millions and hundreds of millions of years ago. Now I could be proven wrong, because every time we turn around, somebody finds evidence saying humanity was around a lot longer than we thought. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because here's the thing: how did the Aborigines get to Australia?
Little canoes, and they brought the dogs with them. So the dingo that's in Australia is related to dogs from India, the Indian subcontinent. because that's where the Aborigines originally came from, the Indian subcontinent. And they ended up down there. I'm sure lots of them died, but humans are weird, especially like Stone Age humans. We're always like, we got to go somewhere. Wherever we are, we're like, nah, F this place. Let's go somewhere else. What's up, GM Cody? How you doing, my man?
Yeah, for some reason, I can't see the chat. I don't know what happened.
I see it.
I don't see it. I can't just blink.
That's weird, man.
Yeah. That's why I tried to leave and
dingoes are wild dogs now, but they weren't always wild. And as a matter of fact, they live in a certain kind of weird symbiotic relationship with Aborigines where they'll all live together, and occasionally the Aborigines will eat dingoes, and occasionally dingoes will eat Aborigines. It's a weird thing, but if you ever seen a dingo, it doesn't look much different than like a lot of tame dogs.
Yeah.
I mean,
so it started out as wolves.
Well,
then they got tamed, and then they went wild again.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's just like horses.
Australia used to be more connected to the land and South. Yeah, it was abutted India. But, so it might not have been that far. You're right. When the actual Aborigines went to Australia, maybe it wasn't as far away. Plus, if you look at, there's tons of islands between the two that you could island hop. You know, get to Sri Lanka, or you get to freaking Malaysia, or you get to Papua New Guinea. I mean, there's tons of places. And I mean, I don't know if you guys know this, but the Australian government did not classify Aborigines as actual human beings until like the 80s. I mean, 1980s. Hmm. Prior to that, they were considered to be an entirely different species.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what scientists killed Aborigines by the hundreds to study them. Or this is what I've heard. I'm not saying this is actual fact. This is I haven't looked up, so I'm not like saying this is but I should preface this. But
well, there was a book
from
called
what I've
Rabbit
heard
from the Wire that talks all about what you're going to say.
Yeah, the like especially in like the 1800s.
Yeah,
scientists would kill Aborigines to study them because they were effectively considered the missing link between ape and man.
Right.
And so
yeah, back in those days, sorry for the delay. Your PC is, I understand, it's Irish. You know why the British don't make computers? They can't figure out how to make them leak oil. Because damn near every British-made car, no matter what you do, it's going to leak oil. But anyway,
is Agrim?
Yeah, the scientist's answer to everything back in the day, you're 100% a fact. In the 1800s, like when Darwin and all those guys were running around, their answer to everything was to just kill it and cut it open and make up crazy things. I mean, Darwin, half the shit Darwin, people love Darwin so much, despite the fact that he was wrong more than he was right. Now, when it comes to, do animals alter themselves to be better suited for the niche they live in? Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
But then when you can see it with your eyeballs. But then you start extrapolating all kinds of crazy shit. Like, can animals go from one genus to another genus? Never been observed. Ever. Never have we observed a fish become an amphibian and then become a lizard. It has never been observed. So everyone who believes in macroevolution, they're taking it on faith. It's become a religion. It's the secular religion is really what evolution is, because there is no evidence. Looks like a good table back there. Yeah, I'll show you a little bit of it there, Cody. This is my Trench Crusade table. I'm getting ready to put some razor barbed wire on this line right here. I mean, I have, as you can see, I have tons of crazy, like, you know, terrain that can be put on the table anywhere. And then I've also got stuff that's actually built into the table. Hungar and I were talking about playing a game, and instead of playing that trench versus this area, this being the side. So everyone starts with 12 inches. So everyone starts owning 12 inches of that trench that runs completely across the table. But I mean, it's so bendy that there's no line of sight. But then in that way, you know, your guys, regardless of whatever army you're playing, start out in the trench. You know, Hungar, of course, is playing heretics, and I am playing trench pilgrims, specifically Russian trench pilgrims. Oh, see, I'm losing everybody. Everybody's like getting their internet messed up. Hopefully mine don't get messed up. Golgotha. Unfortunately, no. This is, according to my headcanon anyway, this is the trench systems outside of Constantinople. In the lore, Constantinople was conquered by a heretic army devoted to, I forget the name of the Duke of Hell or whatever. And so my brave Orthodox trench pilgrims, etc., are duking it out to liberate Constantinople from the heretics.
There we go. I got the
Golgotha is the place of the dead outside of Jerusalem. But in this setting, Jerusalem is completely 100% the capital of the forces of hell. The gate that leads directly to hell opened in Jerusalem. And then whoever didn't get murdered in Jerusalem or flee bent the knee and accepted the forces of hell as their masters and become, you know, the wretched, as they're called. And then if you don't like being wretched, which is not good since you could be cut up in 8, you know, that's not cool. You can attempt to join the heretic legions, which means you have to walk to the point that you can see the bronze gates of hell. And if you can survive that walk, if you're evil enough to survive the walk to see the very gates of hell, then you will be equipped with armor and arms and equipment, etc. You'll be able to join a renegade or a heretic legion, and you are a step up on the totem pole, you know. Now, if you're really, really evil, when you see those gates, maybe you keep going and you go through them. So you are a mortal man and you literally enter hell. You got to be super evil for that. But if you do, then they give you like the best armor and big weapons, and also they empower you with all this energy, and you come out as like this 8-foot tall killing machine. But you're talking about a being that has absolutely no good in them. And yeah, cue the freaking Swedish black metal. That's what we're talking about here. You're talking about a human that is basically really a demon, but with meat and a heartbeat. But any good is non-existent in them. They are 100% just evil. And they're a rank up. You see what I mean? And if you do enough evil shit, you can keep ranking up until you can actually maybe one day become a full-blown devil. However, once you become a full-blown devil, you can no longer leave hell. Only Cambians can leave hell. half-breeds. British PM Starmer wants to send... Yeah, that guy's an idiot. Britain has a tiny army, less than 100,000. And, I mean, they've got like one aircraft carrier. It would be a joke. It would be a joke. I mean, do the British think their soldiers are going to do better than the Ukrainians? No. Especially not now that, like that video I was talking about earlier of that 8-man team of Russians clearing out a Ukrainian trench. Those guys were Spetsnaz. You know, so now all of a sudden, Spetsnaz are in the war. That's not good if you're on the other side. Because these are not conscripts with little training, blah, blah, blah. I mean, these are basically their version of our Rangers or something. Demons cannot exist in the physical world in Trench Crusade. So what they do is they actually have their mortal servants chuck beings into hell, and they non-consensually reproduce with them. And that is why so many of the beings fighting for the forces of hell have hooves and horns and whatever, because they're half hyena or goat or jackal or something. As long as they have mortal blood in them, then they can leave hell. That's the rule that God made. So, you know, because if the actual full-blown demons or fallen angels were to leave hell, then the forces of heaven are going to arrive too. And that would be the end of the whole deal. At that, you know, if the J-Man shows up for the second coming, that's the end of the game. You know, because the forces of hell can't actually win long term. Their goal is just to corrupt as much of humanity as possible, because that's how they punish God, because they're so angry at God for, you know, the rebellion and everything. They're still pissed off about that. They're spiteful, and they know that God's most beloved creature is humanity. So the more humans they can convert to their side, the more the carpenter and the father are hurt. But they all know they're going to lose. Where's Britain going to get the... Yeah, they don't have any artillery. They got nothing. Like, if the British wanted to send troops to Ukraine, how would they even get them there? Would they go through the channel and then like take a bus or train like to Poland and then like from, I mean, because unlike us, they can't just load up, you know, 1,000 C-130s and, you know, and dump a bunch of baloney on somebody. You know, we can do that anywhere in the world, 16 hours. They can't even invade France in 16 hours. Yeah, it's absurd. And as an ex-Marine, and I'm ex-Army infantry, we understand this. There's literally 2.5 world powers, and England is not one of them. Russia's 0.5 because they got nukes, but they can't project power outside of their sphere. You know, because their navy is pretty much insignificant. It's just a defense force, whatever. China might be a world power, but it could really be 2.75 or maybe 2, but China and Russia are both 0.5 right now. And we're 1. And everyone else is even below that. You know, India's got to be on the map there somewhere. They're, you know, buying equipment and upgrading. But honestly, even though India is a member of BRICS, they're more likely to go to war with China than anyone else. So, you know, I mean, they're in the same alliance and they hate each other. So, nope, what needs to happen, and I'm saying this as an armchair politician, is we need to start working closer with Russia. instead of holding on to this 80s boomer, we hate the Soviets thing, because Soviet Union's dead. And if we can cut deals with Russia and end wars and get some trade going, maybe the Russians will stop palling around with the Chinese so much. And then, I mean, America and Russia as allies, who can even stop that? Nobody. It's like the rest of the world can get on their knees at that point. If we and the Russians start trading and being
Two
allies,
biggest superpowers.
yeah, it's like it's over for everyone else.
Yeah.
Everyone else can pack it in. It's done. But we've got, or at least we had, too many Cold Warrior boomers in DC that seem to not be able to get over the fact that the Soviet Union doesn't exist. Russia is not an aggressive nation. They have no interest in invading people. They were forced into invading Ukraine by us. And I'm not trying to be a Russian apologist. I'm telling you. We had the Maidan coup, which we know for a fact now we financed. We got rid of a pro-Russian, legally elected politician, and we replaced him with basically a gay rat-faced actor.
We got somebody in the.
Yeah, it's
okay.
So, the first thing that Ratface did is start oppressing the ethnic Russians in eastern Ukraine. And people allowed that shit to go on for a while, but the whole time, the Russians were saying, hey, you can't keep doing this. And eventually, it got to the point where we had a very weak president. And the Russians were like, well, now's the time. Because one thing, I know Trump says a lot of weird shit. He does. And I personally find it hilarious. But when he says this would never have happened if I were president, he's not bullshit.
No.
He's not bullshit. It might sound like bullshit, but it's not bullshit.
He managed to convince North Korea to not go to war. He managed to keep Putin in line, and he managed to get, whether you agree with this state or not, but 3 Muslim countries to acknowledge for the first time the state of Israel and to actually talk and negotiate with them. Something they wouldn't have done. Yeah. So it's
the guy's been a peacemaker from the get-go.
Look,
yep.
And that's what I tell people. Whether you love them or hate them, and let's face it, those are the only 2 options. You either love the Don or you hate the Don. There's nothing in between. He's
right.
He's all right. He's not my kind of guy, but I ain't got no. You either love him or you hate him.
I was actually Nerdy Ogre. I'm actually going to disagree with you. I am at this point indifferent to Trump. I only support him for the yucks because it's just funny. And that's it.
He is definitely like the memes flow.
But
you know what I mean? Because Trump will get up on stage and will just say outlandish shit. And it is hilarious, That's why I voted for him mainly. Because I was like, there are going to be great memes. His entire 4 years is going to be fucking lit. Twitter is going to explode. This is going to be the best ever. But saying that, I agree with you, Nerdy Ogre. Yes. But why do you think Trump is that way? I can tell you. He grew up in Queens, New York.
Yeah.
And he did not start out rich. And the $1 million his dad gave him was a fucking loan.
Yeah.
He had to pay that back. And somehow, through being Trump, he turned $1 million into like $40 billion. And half of the New York Manhattan skyline he built. He is the king of the fucking trolls. And I love it because I'm a baby troll.
That's what I'm saying, though, is like whether you love him or hate him, it's like the man gets shit done.
Because
he's doing, it's like whether you like what he's doing or not, he's doing exactly what he said. And that's what That's what cracks me up. I see these videos and these memes and these posts. It's like, I bet you're regretting voting for Trump now because you didn't vote for this. No, dumbass. This is what we voted for. What he is doing is
when
why
they're
we
talking
voted
about the
for him.
Elon Musk shit, that's like,
Yeah.
I bet you didn't know about. No, this is why we elected
This.
him. Dick.
I mean, granted.
And
like,
what kind of maniac is mad because they're trying to figure out how all of our money is being wasted?
I mean,
It's like, so you're mad at Trump because he said he ain't going to pay $70 billion to the Irish so that they can make transsexual plays or whatever. And we're not going to send millions of dollars to Nigeria so that they can do whatever gay shit they're doing. And we're not going to create a Brazilian comic book with a trans hero. It's like, why are we doing any of this? Also, we're not going to send money to NGOs that are directly affiliated with senators and congressmen, or buy 1 billion subscriptions to Axios for some reason. I mean, who could be angry about that? And when people are like, he's rude and crass and blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
Ops is from Queens, New York. I've said it 1 billion times. And I tell people, yeah, he is. You know why?
Yeah.
Because he's from fucking Queens, New York. He's not from the Gentile South. He did not grow up in Savannah, Georgia. He didn't go to finishing school. He's not going to talk to you like, he's not that guy.
But the kind of guy he is, you know where you stand with him.
That's 100%. That dude, within just a few minutes of meeting him, you're going to know where you stand with him. Right. If you're willing to work with him and cut a deal, even if he hates your guts, he'll do it.
Right.
And if you fuck him over, believe me, we have not heard the last of this Zelensky thing, because Trump, whether you hate him or love him, his ego is such that you fuck him over. Yeah, he's not, that shit is not going to just go answered. He's going to fuck you over. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Trump started landing the 82nd Airborne in Ukraine, just taking over property for the fuck of it himself. You know what I'm saying? He would never do that, but you get what I'm saying. That would be one way to put an end to the war, though. Just start dropping if we did troops all over the fucking place.
You are right. If Trump was put in a position where he had to sit for however that works, because I know that officially America cannot go to war unless it's approved through the Congress and House and all that, saying we declare war, and then the president, since he's the commander in chief,
the president declares it a police action,
right? But I'm talking an actual, because even a police action, there's limited things he can do and all that. But
but hear me out. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting.
If the Congress, go ahead.
Vietnam lasted 15 years and was a police action. It was never declared a war. 350,000 American soldiers died there. And we killed like 2 million Vietnamese people. Because, I mean, that's what we do. That was a police action from beginning to end. Korea was never a war. It's police action. Right. We have not declared war against anyone since World War II. Right. And yet, look at how many countries we've been dropping baloney on and invading and shit. Like all over the place.
Trump is not going to do no police action.
No, I don't think he will. I think he respects peace and Congress and shit like that a little bit more than that.
So like I said, if for whatever reason the House and the Senate and Congress and whatever all is involved says, okay, we declare war. Like Trump's the kind of guy, I bet you I'll put money that he would send in troops and he would just take over all of Ukraine and say it is now an American territory.
Yeah. Russia, get out. This is American.
Russia, you're gone. Ukraine, you're in American territory now.
Yeah. Nuxenor always does that when he starts his videos. He's always like, greetings, fellow Americans and soon to be fellow Americans, because, it's like
Yeah.
America has just become, I told you though, I told everybody, if you want to have fun, vote Trump. I mean, even if you're not a Republican, but you just want to have a good time and have some laughs, you got to vote Trump because that shit is going to be off the hook because that's just the way that guy rolls, man. And JD Vance is like a little meaner version of Trump.
Yeah, that's what, because, okay, all I've been hearing, and I'm telling you, man, it feels like it's been, he's been in office forever, but it's only been like a couple of months.
29 days.
It's been 1 month. It has been 1 month.
And my
he has accomplished more
it feels like that the elections are going to be held next year. Like he's already done the full term.
Dirty ogre.
But
we're going to win, and we're going to do so much winning. You're going to be like, please stop winning. I can't take it. And I'm going to say no. We're going to keep winning. It feels like
it's been taking forever. And I forgot what I was trying to make. Oh yeah, that's what I was trying to. The point
America has never won more under my administration than any other. I'm the greatest at winning, as are my associates.
Yeah, just ask anybody. He's got his Trumpism.
But all I've been hearing is Trump and Musk. I haven't been really hearing anything about JD, and I was starting to kind of get a little.
If you watched the interview with Zelensky, JD got on his.
That's. I did. I saw it, and I loved it. I love JD got in there.
The one thing I will say,
and my concerns were alleviated, and I was like, yes, I can see myself voting for JD Vance.
I'm going to say the one thing I do hate about this whole Trump malarkey that I hate is that Americans are turning into pompous pricks. I'm sorry. No matter how hard you try, it is the Gulf of Mexico. I'm sorry. No,
you're wrong.
No, you're wrong. No, it's not. It's not Gulf of. No, you're wrong.
It's the Gulf of America, sir.
Nope, it's the Gulf of Mexico. The Spaniards found it first. Sorry. It'll always be the Gulf of Mexico. Plus, I'm just gonna say, James. No. Do you want to know why? Because the Gulf of America sounds gay. I'm sorry. It sounds cringe. Gulf of Mexico sounds better. It just does. Sorry.
You know what? Ireland sounds cringe. And your president, I'm Irish, so whatever.
Yeah, I know. Well, no, he fucked off. We got rid of the half Indian. Well, I mean, he quit. He got bitched out over the basically what is the woman article, and when there was one part of my country that was slightly in favor of it by 4%, and it was the posh nuisance part of the country in Dublin. Everywhere else was yeah, fuck off, and he resigned, fucked off to New York, and we haven't heard from him since.
Yeah, he called Vance a bitch, but he did it under his breath in Ukraine. If he had said it in English, Vance might.
Was this before he was? Please, sir, can I have some more?
Yeah, when Vance said something, he kind of whispered under his breath. But the problem is, a lot of the people watching heard what he said and ran it through Google Translate and was like,
"Yeah,
wait a minute."
It's like calling him. What's the rush? What's the ruch? What's the rush? The rush.
DK.
Mm-hmm.
We got every right to be. America is absolutely the best country on the planet.
No, it's not.
We dominate the entire world at everything.
The only thing that America has going for it is the fact that it figured out what human rights are, and it has more money because I don't know why. I don't know why it has so much money. It might have something to do with all of the merchants that you got.
We are a giant country, and we have tons of resources.
Right.
You have to remember, and I'm not trying to talk bad about your nation. Everyone loves Ireland, but your entire country is like the size of Ohio.
Oh no, dude, it's not even. It's not even. It's tinier than Ohio.
Whereas Alaska by itself produces more gold everything, oil, etc., than half the world.
I'm going to say this right now.
Texas has so
I'm going to
much
say right now, if England had left Ireland alone, Ireland would have comparable numbers to what the Irish population in America is right now.
maybe
There
Yeah,
would be
there's more
30.
Irish
There would be
people
30.
in America
We
than
still
there are
have
in
not. I'm going to put this into perspective, and this is why I get so fucking pissed off by, like, say, you know, the shit going on in the Middle East and all the fucking BLM stuff and all this other crap. We still have not breached in my own country pre-famine numbers 150 years ago.
Right.
There were 8 million Irish people, and I mean Irish people in Ireland. Now there are 5 million people in Ireland.
Yep.
That's a joke. That's a joke.
There are more
I don't want
Irish
to hear.
people living in South Boston than
There
in
are
your-
more Irish people living in England. There are 6 million Irish people in England.
Well, I mean Liverpool, right? You need a job, you go to Liverpool.
Yeah, probably. I'm just like,
Well, I only say that because Paul McCartney's family, he was 100% Irish, and apparently his
oh really?
dad had
Yeah.
went to Liverpool because he worked in the shipping industry or something.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. That would
Yeah.
not at all surprise me.
Well, he does got that round potato head. A lot of
Shark.
Irish people.
Shark, fuck off. Seriously.
Goodbye, Ireland. Then so sad. The UN 2040 plan. 30% of the Irish population will be black and Muslim. They're working on it.
That is not going to happen. I'm going to tell you right now, that is not going to happen. See, the problem was they didn't inculcate this kind of liberal paradigm into Ireland like they did with England slowly over the last 100 years. They just bull rushed it with Ireland in the last 10. And it got to the point where, like, one guy tried to stab a bunch of kids to death, and the Irish responded by firebombing buildings.
Well, you know, one thing we know about the Irish is they're not afraid to fight.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, and whether I am saying for legal and posterity reasons, I do not in any way condone the acts of terrorism.
Unless
now
it's
that the
IRA
FBI
back in the day, that made sense.
Yeah.
They
well,
were
that was a
actually
war.
freedom fighters.
That was a war. They didn't have a choice.
Plus, at no point did the IRA ever target civilians.
Not if they could help it.
Yeah, I mean, if a bomb went off and someone got whacked, that's sad. But it's not like they were running around graping and
yeah. They
kidnapping
in the
children.
troubles they actually changed their policy of warning people ahead of time because they killed, I think, a couple of civilians. Like, okay, there is an exception in that during the Mount Batten, I think his name's the Mount Batten bombing. They knew, I think, that his grandchildren were with him, and they still did it anyway.
Yeah.
So they're not their definition of civilian is a little.
Well, at least it's not like Hassan Pikers, which is like, well, sure they're babies, but they're baby settlers. It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, but Hassan Piker is a socialist psychopath who is the uncle, allegedly, of a horse fucker. So.
Well, and not only that, but he comes from money, big money.
Yep. And again, I have to say for legal, I say this.
Colonizer, even though he lives in Turkey.
I only say the equine enthusiast comment about Cenk Uygur only a speculation for legal reasons. I'm only making this speculation based on.
He's on camera saying it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Only because I've heard these words come out of his mouth.
Yeah, he's on camera saying that he would make it legal to pleasure animals.
If he was like dictator of the world. Yeah, I know, Nerdy Ogre. I was watching a Sargon live stream from like 2 years ago, like after like they re-uploaded it. And I'd like, so one of the three of them that were talking mentioned that. I was like, what? And then they played the clip, and I'm like, you just kind of like, it's like that moment where you kind of stare into someone's eyes after they say something incredibly messed up or stupid, and you're like silent for a good 30 seconds. Like you're silent for like 30 seconds to 5 minutes trying to. Yeah, you're just like processing how someone could say something so degenerate, stupid, and diabolical. You just like,
Especially when they were running for political office.
wait, he was running for office?
He was running for political office and said that in an interview.
Oh my
People were just
God.
like,
That is
uh,
that is hilarious.
and he said
in
it
a-
multiple times. This is a recurring thing with him.
Yeah, like fuck. I think it was Anna Kasparian who tried to like back him down to give him a chance, like give him a rope to pull himself out of the hole he dug himself in. But I guess Cenk decided to turn into a slip knot and decided to Minecraft his political career. I'm just like, okay. I suppose that old saying, you give people enough rope to hang themselves with, I guess.
I guess.
I guess it's just okay.
But
I mean, that's what you do. If
So-
someone's in a hole, you hand them a rope. They'll either climb out or hang themselves with it. Their choice.
Yeah, it's like at some point you just got to stare down at him like, okay, well, you chose that option. Well, I tried. There's not much else I could do. But yeah, I watched Scanner Barkley's latest video. Is so good. It was so.
Chunky.
Wait.
Oh, chunky.
hey, Double
Okay.
D, what are you doing, man?
How you doing, buddy?
Just doing
Hey,
my
Double D.
Monday thing. We were
Hey,
honestly
Shark,
Hey.
please do not insult clowns like that.
we were sitting here complaining at each other. What are you painting?
Just some
Miniatures.
epic battles, Napoleonic.
Oh shit! I've got the I bought the big box set, but it's Civil War.
I got that too.
Got to get
Yeah.
into wargaming.
Like
got to get
right
into
here,
bloody
I've got
wargaming,
a generic. Let me get in front of the camera. A generic gray coats and blue pants. I probably
Yeah,
should
yep.
paint the hats with yellow on top and the sleeves should probably be yellow because that was the. But
Yeah, I got that box too.
a ton of these.
I like the Confederates because you can just kind of mix and match.
Right,
Nice.
right. Because you can give
Oh,
them
but-
slouch hats and.
But Double D, don't you know that because you play the Confederates, according to Ron Peterson, you are the bad guys from World War II. Don't you know? Don't you
Oh
know?
yeah, of course.
It's so totally. And if you ever play the Indians and Cowboys and Indians, that means you like to scalp people because that's how that works.
Oh yeah, yeah, of course.
After
But
video,
shush, D&D, we can't talk about that one.
Oh yeah.
I don't know who you're talking about. Dark Knight.
Well, I mean, I think there was a tribe in like one of the tribes that would like do even worse because I granted the French taught the natives that, but that was tame compared to what some of them were doing. Like they would like cut open people, take out or like stuff hot rocks inside of them and watch them boil alive. It's like holy hell.
Yeah, they're pretty brutal.
Some of the
That's-
tribes were, big fans of torture. It
I
is
mean,
what it is.
the Aztecs
But I
like to
wanna
bury
talk
children.
about something, and that is
Go
that he wrecked my mental health so bad a couple of weeks ago.
How?
that I literally had a midnight or 1 a.m. in the morning stream where I was just bitching, not about you, but about the topic of your conversation. And it was
Yeah.
of course, the guy with the I'm going to run erotic D&D.
Oh, that guy.
That video.
Oh God! Why did you remind me of that, James? Why?
Well, if
I
have
watched
to
that-
suffer through it, then
I
everyone-
watched it after the fact because I thought, it could be that bad. It's like, little did I know it was so much worse.
Anytime you think or say the words, it can't be that bad. It's usually worse.
It gets- it's going to get so much worse. It's
so
fatal mistake. Fatal. I'm watching it like.
his wife is banging other dudes too.
Oh, dude, you're assuming he even has a wife? Like,
He
come
does.
on.
Oh, he does. He
And
does.
she hangs
No.
out with a bunch of friends who apparently like orc breeding as a fantasy, and
Yeah, I wonder what
like,
orcs are a stand-in for.
the army.
yeah, I was saying that to my friends. It's like while I was watching that, it's like it's very telling that they equate orcs to black people, and then
No,
they
it's
show
not.
the
No.
footage.
No, not black people. Spanish now. Orcs are
Yeah,
Spanish.
they're Spaniards.
Well, yeah, that's okay, fair.
Specifically,
Let's be fair.
Castilian Spanish.
I think
but
the
still-
drow are orcs, or the drow
But
are.
you're not wrong. But
blacks.
yeah,
At
it's
this
like,
point,
it's like,
at-
what is wrong with this dude? I would even if my wife came home and asked me to do what his wife asked him to do, I'd be looking for a divorce.
Yep.
and I would just
But
like even
on the
point out,
other
like
hand, if my wife had a bunch of girlfriends that were obsessed with like X-rated books and shit, yeah, we wouldn't be together. Because I'd be like, "There's something wrong here."
I
and
have
I'm not dealing with it. And maybe
I have
I'm
heard
just a crazy
YouTubers-
conservative, but I'm just not.
Yeah.
I'm not having any part of it.
I have heard excerpts from YouTubers who would read like female like erotic fantasy, and like my brain just shuts down.
Oh,
I'm
dude.
like, it's like my friend posted a meme on Discord. Like it's the meme of a guy will say, "Now hear me out." Shows a conventionally attractive woman. Woman goes, "Hear me out," and it's an abomination from hell. And it's like, these two things are not like the other one. You know?
What is the name
like-
of the woman who wrote the vampire stuff?
Oh, gosh.
Anne
Shelley?
Rice.
Anne Rice
No.
wrote under
Anne
a
Rice.
name a set of books called The Taming of Sleeping Beauty or something like that.
I thought you were talking like Interview with the Vampire, that chick.
Right, that
Yeah.
one.
Okay.
Well, she wrote under a pen name.
Oh, okay.
And I had a girlfriend that I dated, and she used to read it, and it was like The Taming of Sleeping Beauty or whatever. And it was the worst shit you can imagine.
Of course.
It was like
Yep.
she's reading the book to me, and there's parts of the book where it talks about like the guy sticking something in her butt and making her like wear it all day, and like it was like the craziest shit. And I'm like, "You like this?" And she's like, "Yeah." And guess what? She was a hooker. She cheated on me, and I got her out.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's
All right. I apologize. I'm about to change the subject.
oh,
Please
and-
do.
And turn it,
Please,
and turn
for
it
the love of
towards
God.
gaming. And
Yes,
turn it towards
please.
gaming. More specifically, miniature painting.
what about
Yeah.
it?
Wouldn't it be easier to Double D? Wouldn't it be easier to paint those like before you put them in rows like
No.
that,
No, definitely.
or do they come in
not.
rows like that?
Because I've already done that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat. And I'm only painting the end guys in the back row. Other than that, I'm just kind of doing a sort of an abstract, like reddish, and then a little bit of white over it. Honestly, I've done it both ways. Believe it or not, this is easier. Plus, when you do it this way, you have the efficiency of putting your whole like box together at once rather than a little bit at a time.
That's the same thing
Okay.
I tried at first, painting each little thing and then putting them together. And it's so much easier to just go ahead and build them.
Yep.
And then you work on all the details on that front rank.
Yeah.
And then you can do whatever you want with the second rank as far as you can do a lot of details or not.
Yep.
And yet, for whatever reason, they look just as good on the table.
Double D, is there any like? 'Cause I am thinking of getting into wargaming. You talked about Napoleonics. What war system do you use for?
Honestly, I haven't even played this one yet. The one that it comes with, Black Powder, is fine, but I also have one called Soldiers of Napoleon, which is a card-driven game.
Yeah.
I'm anxious to actually try that one. But Black Powder is the kind of comes with the epic battles, any of their epic battles. Like they have Napoleonic, Civil War, Roman. They just had like Roman Carthage. Pretty neat.
So it's whatever you're into. If you're into Napoleonics, they got it.
Yep.
If you're into Civil War, which is just American Napoleonics, they got it. And if you like ancients, well, they got it.
Yeah, they got Roman
And for
Napoleon.
what you
but with
get as
swords.
far as a war game goes, it's a pretty good deal. Like, I think I paid $100 and something bucks for that big box, but because I bought it when I bought it, I got like a free figure of General Lee and like all kinds of extra shit. And
yeah,
you know, I mean, Warlord Games, they're actually a pretty decent company.
They are, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I asked just because I need a good war system because, for like I told you before, Double D, I'm designing a game, and I just want good war gaming. I'm thinking of just using chainmail and converting it a bit, but I think maybe I should look further afield.
Chainmail.
Well, if you're looking for one, I actually just ordered it. It's a system called Midgard. Midgard, Heroic Battles. It's you can use it for historical, but also fantasy, any scale.
Ooh,
nice. In
nice.
fact, in the latest issue of War Games Illustrated, like I think they talk about running like a game in Middle Earth, if I'm not mistaken.
Ooh.
So,
nice.
Nice. I want to check that out. Just it's called Midgard Heroic Battles.
Midgard Heroic Battles. So check that out. I just love the fact that Nerdy Ogre's icon it spells N-O. Just no. Sorry. Just a digression. But yeah, no. Yeah, I'm really tearing into Trench Crusade. It's really got me inspired for the game I want to design.
It's an interesting game. I mean,
yeah.
Have I had to explain to them their blasphemies a couple times? Yes. And have I had to explain to the British atheists what the whole point of it is? A couple times. But, you know, by and large, yeah. Like Northern Exile, he's like, why would you even fight? And it's like, because maybe you don't want to become a devil's
plaything,
ass puppet. I mean, I don't know. Because if you die in battle against the forces of hell, you instantly get to go to heaven because you've martyred yourself. But if you
it's just the if for no other reason then this was a gift. And for no other reason, God gave you this world for a reason. It's your home. Do you not feel a duty to defend your home? I would think so. Like
I said, Europeans or people from the UK that have, I mean, the reason the UK is as screwed as it is because they've rejected their history and religion and everything. And now they're being overrun by people who are not a part of that. Continuity. And
what was the term that they used? The something man, the new man, where they believe that you can take anyone from anywhere and just make them British. And it's like, that is not true.
Yeah.
But sorry, it was a quaint idea, it was a noble notion, but it is not true. You can't take just anyone.
Like most of the worst things that have ever happened in history have always happened because of good intentions. I mean, you can even argue that the Soviets started out, at least what they told the useful idiots, was good intentions. I mean, I'm sure they all knew what they were doing because, I mean, they were all Satanists, but
I mean, like Karl, like even if we'll say Lenin truly believed in it, the person who invented the ideology was just what would be the equivalent of a
Are you that's the Russians or British, you said?
What's that?
Prussians, British?
Oh, these are British.
Nice.
Here's some Finnish ones.
So it's Napoleonic
filthy
Wars,
red
which means
coats.
most of them are actually Irish.
Here's some French. My French army is almost done.
The only way you could ever get an Irishman to wear that filthy red coat is if you put a gun to the back of his head, and even then, he'd be debating it.
No.
That or if the
That's
pay
not
was good.
true. Yeah, exactly. During the time when Britain was running amok, like most of their freaking army was Irish conscripts or Irish.
Yeah.
Because
Volunteer.
Ireland kind of sucked, and the British Army offered 3 meals a day, and
Do you know what the funny thing is, James? The funny thing is, I know a lot of people say Ireland sucked. Yeah, it sucked because of Britain's intervention. The reason why a lot of Vikings were raiding Ireland is because we had the best, we were the most well-fed people in Europe. People ate meat in the Dark Ages in Ireland on the regular. Because they could afford to. We were one of the most prosperous people throughout the Dark Age. It's why we had tons of missionary workers, tons of manuscript writers, goldsmiths, silversmiths. We were some of the most learned people ever. And then the British happened. And, well,
you just got to get over it. Things happen.
Yep.
But
I just find it cool.
Okay, well, I've got to say my goodbyes,
Bye,
y'all. I got
Nerdy
some things that.
We'll see ya.
If you're still on whenever I get back, I'll hop back on.
Catch you later, Nerdy.
See you later.
See you later, man.
Thanks for having me on.
Anytime.
It's all good, man.
See you.
Anytime. Yeah, that guy with all of his freaking weird shit.
Super geek.
Like on a fundamental level, I was upset. Because
I
think
horrified.
the problem is there's something wrong in my brain. And when I don't understand something, it really bothers me. Because
I understand that.
I want to see his point of view. I'm like, okay, what's going on here, right? And it was like I could not understand it. I was like, this guy, what is he even? I mean, nothing he's saying is computing in my head,
Yeah.
And I was just like, I had to actually get up and walk away from the computer a couple of times because I was just, and that's not your fault. I mean, it was great content, but it was just like I was like personally like,
offended.
What the F?
like, what is wrong with this guy?
Like, I mean,
And
Double
the
D,
other
I thought
video, it's the same thing. He's obviously one of these weird, self-loathing, beta cup kind of guys that I would never hang out with of my own free will.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, like, Double D, I thought
if my wife and I and your wife and you met at a convention or something, we would probably end up like having drinks and hanging out.
I would hope so. Yeah.
Having a pretty good time. I mean, you're Appalachian, I'm Appalachian.
We're not quite Appalachia, but close enough.
You're close to coal country, and you drink.
Close enough, yeah.
So that's my requirement.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You gotta respect Yingling. And know somebody who's worked in the mines.
Yep.
And you fit that. Don't worry. Even though you're in Ireland, you fit it too, but only because of how many Irishmen came over here and dug coal.
Yeah, it's fair.
So I'm willing to give you a pass just because of all of your ancestors. Because I mean, half of Pennsylvania and probably a quarter of Kentucky are Irish.
And like probably like half of New York is Irish and the other half is Italian.
I have an Irish name and I'm not even Irish.
Yeah.
So,
but, no, like Double D, I genuinely thought that like Jeremy Crawford's stilted cadence was going to be the worst thing I heard that you did. and then that happened.
And then that happened, huh?
And then that happened. Like, it's like him describing some of the stuff. It's like,
oh yeah, the list.
What possesses a man to? If I had to even write that, my skin would start cringing off of my body.
Oh yeah.
I could not even say this as a joke.
It's like cringe so hard that your back hurts.
Mm-hmm. Like,
throw your back out because you just cringe.
And some of the stuff he was saying, like I rolled my eyes so hard my neck broke.
to this day, I still don't know what edging is.
Like some
And
of them,
I
like
didn't
the
all of the stuff on that list, I didn't look none of it up because I was like, I don't think there's a future in this. So
Yeah,
I'm just gonna let it
there
go.
was like one that I heard was like the frog, like froggy style. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, half of this stuff I don't even know. Like,
Well, because you're a
it's
good Irish Catholic boy.
well, I'm trying to be
You're
anyway,
not,
but
you're
like
not
it's
supposed to know about any of that. Me
yeah,
neither.
I like my for I will say this for how liberal my family was. They raised me fairly sheltered, and I'm very grateful for that. Like
You
I
brought
wasn't
up Jeremy
exposed.
Crawford though, and you know what it reminded me of?
What?
He needs to make a new video where he's like, this version of D&D will have the elfiest elf and the dwarfiest dwarf and the most degenerate degenerates.
Or I would just say, what about the most paladiniest paladin, where I just smite evil and cut orcs' heads off?
No,
How about that?
paladins aren't allowed anymore, and orcs
Oh
aren't
yeah.
even in the monster manual. So get over it.
Yep.
I forgot about that.
But I'm just wanting to play on the whole fact that the guy
Yeah,
was
I know the elfiest
degenerate.
elf.
So it's like we're gonna have the
Oh,
elfiest
yeah, like
elf
one
and
of your-
the most
like what-
degenerate of degenerates.
Like one of the super chats on that video, Double D. You know, Jeremy Crawford knows a lot about cocktails. He knows quite a lot about them.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. And you know what?
Well,
Whatever
like
he wants to do is between whatever he wants to do in the privacy of his home is between him and God. I'm not gonna force him, and I ain't gonna stop him. You know, it ain't my fucking
All you can
business.
say is, hey, what you're doing is not really good for you, but
Yeah, but it's not.
if
You know,
wanna
if
do
he
that, do it. I mean, I can't
Yeah.
stop you, but
exactly. You know, that's why honestly that we should probably go back to don't ask, don't tell. Really.
God, those were the days.
Yep.
When you were in the army, and it was like you kind of knew that somebody might be away, but no one said anything, so you could just
Because-
do your job and not be bothered by it.
Yep. Just
but
okay.
I've
Sure.
said this on live streams, bro, and it is a fact. The L's and the G's are getting a bit pissed off with the T's and the Q's
As well they should.
What?
as well.
You
Because-
don't say.
Yeah, because the L's and the G's don't want to read to your children. They want to hang out in a nightclub that's playing funky techno music. and
Well, I mean, there are several cases of monkeypox, but we won't get into that one.
yeah, but that's not in a library in front of a bunch of kids.
No, I
Exactly.
mean, no. What I'm saying is that
If they want to
Strangely-
catch monkeypox, that's up to them.
no, James, you don't know what I'm saying. There are cases where kids are contracting the disease.
Well, then somebody needs to hunt somebody down and figure.
Yep,
some
it's
shit
it's hunting season. Yeah, it's hunting season.
and figure it out. Like I said in a video, and I stand by it. If you are a parent and you have multiple trans children under the age of like 10, you should be investigated for abuse
Or you should have your kids taken away from you.
Mhm.
because there's no way.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Let's see. What if people are bothered by me being straight? It doesn't matter, Habibi, because they're going to die anyway.
I
Am I
was just
ready
like,
for the
it's,
Chinese era of prosperity? China is a paper tiger. If we cut off trade
Yep.
with them, they die.
their buildings are literally catching fire, dude.
Right.
They're
And we supply the majority of the food they eat. So
like half their buildings have asbestos in them. So if they start
it's
burning
kinda
down, that's
funny
going to
though.
create a whole.
Habibi Lenin. So communist, and yet Habibi, which is a term of endearment in Arabic.
Wasn't it Lenin who said that there would be a one great final conflict between communism and Islam? So it's like
Maybe, I don't know.
I remember in one of his
Dogs
speeches, like he
wrap around
mentioned
with
this.
same-sex dogs. Yes. As humans, we should probably hold ourselves to a higher standard than
Like
dogs.
standard. Mm.
You know, I love it when people try to point a negative behavior and then they point at an animal. Well, that animal, well, they also eat their young sometimes.
They also don't forget the dogs also eat their own vomit and their own
They'll
shit.
eat their own vomit and poop. They like to chase cars. So it's a stupid argument, Habibi. So anyway, though, yeah, this board is, I'm going to say, is done once I paint it.
I was going to remark, James, I love that. Boy, is that a sand table or is that?
No, this is 100% built foam, heavily reinforced.
Yeah, it looks like a trench.
Which could be used actually for
okay.
or historical wargaming. I just have to get rid of the crosses over there. And
I mean,
trench. It could, I just built this today because it came in from where I ordered it, but it's like a little mound full of people who have been
staked,
impelled.
Is that the holy? Is that for Vlad? Is that for the Vlad faction?
I have a 28 millimeter figure of Vlad Tepes.
Nice.
I should. I should cut his hands off and equip him with a submachine gun and some shit. I am in charge
in the milieu of the game I'm designing. Vlad Tepes is one of the higher level faction leaders.
In this
and he's
game,
not.
Vlad killed so many heretics when they were trying to move through the Balkans that the heretics fled.
Well, they tried to. It didn't work because
it didn't work, but
oh no! Once they found the forest of stakes, it was already too late. They were so dead.
But
yeah. I just love.
You definitely know where to find them. I'll tell you that. You definitely know where to find them.
Oh yeah.
If it's not for the Cyclops with a weakness for communism and thin boys,
or Condor.
Oh, what was his name? What the hell was his name again? That Indestructible Boy?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of fell off too. But I wanted to ask you a question about this too. I already asked everyone else. Have you noticed the kind of mid-tier 5e guys that all of a sudden are turning on 5e?
I'm getting that sense, especially with Merle's. I think Merle's coming out and kind of being like, what is this game actually? Who does it serve? What purpose does it have? I think that is kind of telling people well, maybe it's okay to publicly go against 5e now.
Well,
finally.
The patron saint of 5e is, but Thomavor, Jordan with an H, Bob the World Builder, even.
Well, he's been sort of low key anti 5e. He's been all about DCC for a while.
Yeah. Well, see, Double D, he's not anti 5e. I think he's just anti Hasbro and WotC.
Which is okay.
A little bit of both, I think. A little bit of both.
Well, a lot of people got pissed when 5e tried their bullshit.
Yeah, well, that's because a lot of these are
taking everybody's intellectual property back.
Well, that's this is all newest art.
He doesn't like 5e. I mean, he'll talk about it because he has to get views, but you can tell when he talks about DCC or some of these other games, there's a little sparkle in his eye, he loves doing it.
Which I do not understand. I tried running for several months a DCC game. I do not get the appeal of that game.
It's either for you or it's not, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've never ran it. I've never even played it, but I do have some stuff for it. I mean, I was really disappointed. I got their monster manual, which I ordered way back. And I was really disappointed. And I was actually kind of disappointed in the art in it. It didn't look like it didn't have that kind of DCC style, which like or hate the game. I kind of dig the art in it.
The art is cool and the modules are good. I've read a few of them. They're fine. The modules are great and they're fun. Yeah.
But
the actual system
modules with OSE or something else.
Mm-hmm.
What I hate the most about it is the abundance. Most of that book, that 500 plus, nearly 600 page book, is dedicated to just the spells, and the ones who when DCC was much bigger in the circles I was in, would say, "Oh, just get the app, bro. Just use the app, bro." And it's like, if your system is so cumbersome,
so
if your system is so cumbersome that I literally need to use an app just to make it function, I'm going to use Swords and Wizardry or OSC. Thank you very much.
But you don't have to use the app unless you're the kind of person who never figured out THAC0.
Well, it's not. No, it's not THAC0. It's like all the different variations on the spells and shit. You know?
Oh, I know. Every spell has like 10 variations.
Yeah, it's just
that's
great.
Why you have the book sitting in front of you, and when it casts a spell, you just look at the list and say what happened. I mean, it's not hard.
Yeah.
You know,
I know it's not hard, but
it's
fucking
complain about
tedious.
THAC0, and it's like it was literally on your character sheet.
Yeah. But THAC0 was like, to be fair,
copy down the number, and then you were good. I mean, every old school character sheet had THAC0 from -10 to 10.
Yep.
So I mean, there's no excuse.
I mean, I think
so
with Legion of Myth,
you know, they can't go with basic
Legion
math.
of Myth pointed it out very succinctly. It's THAC0 minus die roll equals armor class hit. You just say that mantra over and over and over again, and you'll never forget. It's not hard.
Mm. Well, I didn't have a problem figuring THAC0 out, and I was 13. So,
well, I didn't start with THAC0. I started with 5e. So,
you know, now am I saying I played D&D correctly? No, because when my mom bought me D&D books for Christmas or my birthday, whichever it was, she bought me the Moldvay box set, the Player's Handbook, the DMG, and I didn't know they were different games.
I mean, to be fair,
so
me
and my brother
there's enough overlap.
Friends, we were playing like basic AD&D,
a hodgepodge.
Just a lot of people did that.
Yeah, I mean,
it took us a long time to figure it out. Plus, there was no internet back then, so it's not like you could just go online.
Yeah. Once I figured out advanced D&D was like the big kids game, like my Mold Day box, just that was the end of it. Like I just set that aside, and that was kind of the feeling back then. Like, oh, that's the kids game. You want to play advanced D&D? So.
Right. Well, and you know, advanced D&D was pretty bomb.
Yeah, I glommed onto OD&D fairly early on, the OSR.
Yeah.
You just got to read the fiction and play and read Chainmail, man, and the gaps that are in OD&D will get filled. I'm serious.
I think that people who are hardcore OD&D guys, maybe they're just edgelords, you know.
No. I mean,
it's
do you consider the basic expert?
The bands no one ever heard of, and then if the band gets popular, they stop liking it.
I'm going to say this. I don't consider the basic expert to be an edgelord at all.
Yeah,
so,
I like
he's
the
like
basic expert, but
he's a cool dude.
That doesn't mean he's not being edgy with his.
Well, that's just because everyone else around him is being that's because everyone's being a prick to him. He's just, you know, he's just being obstinate. I don't think he's an edgelord.
Yeah, I don't understand why. I mean, I do know because I was there for the internet drama, but it's bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, but whatever. I mean, Twitter is not the place to go to expect like
intelligent conversation.
Nice or
I have a firm. I'm like Switzerland when it comes to that stuff. I refuse to take sides. I've been asked to take sides more than once, and not even just like big ones like John versus Pundit. etc., stuff like that. But it's just like my policy is, however you treat me is how I'm going to treat you.
Yeah.
You know, and if you treated me good, I'm going to treat you good, and I don't care who likes you, who hates you. And it's like, yeah, I understand some people do bad things to the other, but it's like, I'm not going to expend mental energy getting involved in these gay internet drama wars, you know? Like, I'll go after like someone like Condor just because, hey, it's entertainment. I can, you know, sort of use it And
He's a lol cow. Let's call it what it
Yeah.
is. He's a
Yeah.
lol cow.
oh,
So,
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
But you know,
But,
I'm
like,
not gonna do that to anybody else though.
My
You know,
relationship with RPG
sta-
Pundit is very schizophrenic.
my
It's like
My stance on it
occasionally I'll
is-
be like, RPG Pundit, you're a stinky neocon and suck my whatever. And then like the very next day I'll be like, I love RPG Pundit, blah blah blah.
Well, that's just
yeah, I
because
mean,
you're a
he
fucking
drives me crazy,
You're a
but
You're a Rusaboo, and you're obsessed with his fucking
It's not
game, and you just
Rutaboo,
want
it's Slava Boo. Come on now.
Okay,
yeah, overall I
sorry,
like him.
Sorry, my voivode. Jesus.
Exactly. Get it right.
But anyway,
Wait,
but no,
look
like
at
Double D.
you.
My stance on the whole thing is my beef with Pundo aside. I do not expect anyone to take my to have my. We'll say like I'm more so. I'm more just disappointed in Pundit for doing this more than anything.
We're doing what?
That's just for slandering the basic expert. But I don't expect
yeah.
people to take my vitriol towards it that I do. I just kind of dropped off on the guy because I'm like, I don't want to support someone who basically on spurious accusations calls someone what he called John.
That was one time where I actually did take a stand. I mean, I did privately do something, you know, where I expressed my displeasure, and I told him that. I said, you shouldn't be doing this. I said, this is stupid. And so I kind of did take John's side there. I didn't want to get in the middle of it. I don't know.
No, I understand. I completely
blame you,
understand.
Double D.
Neutrality is a smart way to do it. I'm just a very stubborn person, you know.
Yeah.
I tend to
And I
let
go to
people
Twitter
know
just to be an asshole.
Yeah, I'm just kind of the person who, if you act like an asshole to people I respect or even I love, I'm going to overtly tell you in no uncertain terms to fuck off.
Do you love me?
You know. Well,
that's
as my
fair.
brother, James.
No, that's fair.
You know, as my brother, I love you, James. You're my friend.
Yeah.
You are my brother in Christ, even though you're Irish.
Like I said,
Yeah,
Pundit and I kind of have we spatted over a couple of things, but it's like I don't remember, you know, I don't like hold it against him or like hold a grudge or something. It's like, we disagree on this, and then it's like move on,
And that's fine.
you know, it's
I
like
know, and that's fine.
It's like he'll say 90% good, smart things, and you're like, yeah, that's awesome. And then 10%, sometimes he'll be an idiot over something.
sure,
But
Yeah.
whatever, man. It's like it's not
Yep.
big. Like, do I hold a grudge against Pundit? Not at all.
No.
Not even a little bit. And do I love Baptism of Fire? Absolutely.
oh yeah,
And supposedly he's coming out with like some other stuff for it. So,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
really wish he would go back to the pulp setting of Dark Albion, man. I really do. It was the
well,
best
if
thing he
you
ever
own
released.
Dark Albion, you own it.
No, what I mean is I wish he expanded more on it, and it doesn't matter. He's never going back to it, so there's no point in lamenting over it.
He might, if you ask him. Like, I don't know what his new project is because I haven't looked.
I
But
would
boy,
imagine
oh
it might
boy,
have something
if
to do with
his new project has something to do with you know, the Kievan Rus and stuff like that, I'll buy 3 of them.
I would probably put it down to China. He probably
He's
might do
already
something with
kinda
China.
got China though.
China.
Like he's got a part China,
Chinese.
a part of it in Sword and Caravan,
Yes.
I think. Like it's only
Sword
like
and
one
Caravan
province.
has got all kinds
Yeah.
of stuff about China.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's only one province of like southeastern
Like
China, I
Stone
think.
Chinese.
Yeah,
Double
yeah.
D, have you seen Tony doing Trump impersonations?
I don't think so. No.
Tony's the Chinese guy, and it always starts out with like some outlandish bullshit. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
he pops in and just starts going off. Like there'll be someone that's like super hyper flaming, and the guy will be like, hello. And Tony will be like, goodbye. Meanwhile, buy these LED LCD, you know, he's in China and he's trying to sell LCD lamps.
Nice.
But then he'll pop up sometimes with the orange wig doing China. There's some nice people in China. They make some okay. And it's like, there's one where there's this woman's like, imagine you're in a room with 5 women And then it pops over to Tony. He's like, I don't know 5 women. You know? Like, I mean, this
Not
guy
something you
just
want to
came
admit,
out of
Tony.
nowhere as kind of a YouTube Shorts meme. And now, like, everyone who watches YouTube for any length of time is just like, this guy, you know? He's just a maniac. And
I'll have to check it out.
oh, and it'll be like the most leftist kind of shit ever. And the video will start out, and then he'll like pop in and just say some like outlandish, out of pocket shit. But it's all about buying his lamps, which he has a 2-week turnaround, and they've got like a 3 to 5 year warranty, and they're made with the best transistors and LCDs, and they can make them custom. See, I even know all of his sales pitch from just watching him. But like, you know, like there'll be one where some trans person will be talking shit, and then he'll pop over to him, and he'll be holding the lamps up at talking about, and he'll say "sir" every time he's done with a sentence, even though it's a trans woman, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But he's gone out of his way and been like, look, sir, you can buy these lamps. and
It's ma'am.
Oh, boy.
It's ma'am.
Yeah.
Oh, God,
yeah.
I
And
remember
he's doing
that.
it
I
on
remember that.
purpose. And he just doesn't care because he's in China and he's trying to sell you some freaking LED lamps.
Mm-hmm.
Like the kind you would hang in front of a business.
Right.
And he talks about how you can buy them in all these sizes for any budget and the warranty. And we've been in business for 15 years. And it's like the combination of marketing and dunking on leftists is hilarious.
Right.
It's just like, but you know, Chinese are they're not like us. Like,
Oh yeah.
when
No,
it
for
comes
sure.
to, like dealing with leftists and shit, yeah, they're not like us because they don't deal with that.
Oh, have you seen them dealing with Africans?
Oh man.
Oh, during COVID, remember that stuff where they were blaming them for the spread of the virus? It's like
Black people allowed.
they were like denying them from McDonald's for that reason, and it's like, holy hell, dude!
And I'm thinking, if I'm an African, I am not moving to China.
No, I mean, I think the Nigerian government was warning Nigerians not to go there. You know,
It's like I don't know why you would want to. Maybe you're going to university or something, but I wouldn't do it because those people do not. They don't even like each other.
I remember there was this one scene from Yellowstone where like they were doing these tours, like the Chinese were doing these tours, and they were walking into the main character's land, and there was a freaking bear in the thing, and everyone's like taking photographs of it, and he's like, "Get off my private property!" Now, and apparently in the YouTube comments, they actually said that the guy, what he was saying in Chinese, was saying something else.
Who are you to own so much property?
Yeah, where she said, yeah, and it's like, and his response was like,
yeah.
In America, we don't share things around here. It's like
he was basically like, get off my land or I'll kill you.
Just like fuck off. He's dealing with you.
Because it was someone from communist China, and they were trying to make a comment on.
Yeah. It's like, of course. Yeah, it's like no. It's the great thing about the West is that we get to own shit.
You know,
isn't that amazing, Double D? Isn't that amazing that when you buy something, you get to own it?
Well, maybe in Florida, because our governor's talking about getting rid of property taxes.
I saw that.
Oh,
that'd be nice.
Dude,
that would be awesome. It'd be like, you mean I literally will actually own my house instead of just having a lease on it until I die?
Do you know what would be great is if we just abolished all loan debt. Just get rid of all the debt. I'd be so happy if that happened. You know, we'd be no longer beholden to banks all the time. That would just make me so happy.
But
it ain't never gonna happen.
Okay, Double D, what is your next video going to be?
Ooh.
Are you
I'm
willing-
thinking of going back to Birthright and maybe going into. Now, of course, if like something breaks, like some sort of news, I'll cover that. But I don't know, just maybe kind of go into. A lot of people have asked, like, "Hey, I want to learn. I want to hear more about your 30-year campaign, blah blah." So I'll do that. It'll be like a loss leader because those videos never do as good as like the latest WotC
bullshit?
Dude,
Yeah.
bullshit. But it's I also like doing them. So
Your city-state map is so bloody cool.
Yeah,
I love
it's
the color
same
and
way
detail.
for me. The only videos that I get like even decent view is when I'm talking like mad shit
Well, negative. Well, I mean,
about someone.
it's only natural. It's only natural. I mean,
But if I post, hey, here's how
It's
you
topical.
can do overland travel through forests in a much easier way, blah blah blah. Yeah, I'll get a few comments being like, "That's pretty cool," but I mean, no one gives a shit.
like James, your video on alignment. I don't know if you saw my comment on it. Like,
I did.
Now it's the alignment is a very. It's a sticking point for me. It's one of my preferred
Sticking point for a
mechanics
lot
of
of
the game.
people.
Yep. Oh, but again, I do agree that most people are doing it wrong. Now, I don't think you should do good, new, unaligned, or evil for the reasons I outlined. But you know, if I'm at your table and you say it's good, unaligned, and evil, then I'm like, okay, then I guess it's good, unaligned, and evil.
Well, because I say, why make it more complicated than it's got to be?
That's fair. I just
Your
view
character
more that
is
like
either good, kind of not good, or evil.
Well, I mean,
and
like,
really, the only thing to discuss is how good or how evil are you?
Yeah, but again,
like,
I
are
would
you
just say
a
that
little evil, like you might do a little evil stuff, or are you like full blown, would murder an old lady for a ham sandwich?
Like, I mean, I would argue that you can like even like look at Samson from the Old Testament. Like, God will find a use for people, even if they might never find salvation. I'm not saying Samson didn't, but he was obviously doing things in the Old Testament that are not very nice, shall we say.
He was a simp.
Yeah.
I love using alignment in my campaigns. Shark, one thing I've never understood, and maybe it's because as a kid, not only did I play AD&D, but I played Traveler, was what the point of alignment was. Because when you play Traveler, guess what? There's no alignment. If you want to know if a character is good or evil, you just see
watch
what they do in the game. If they run around murdering people for no reason, guess what?
If a character is paying to feed orphans on every planet he goes to, he's likely going to be a good person. But if he but if he drops a nuke on every planet to kill orphans, he's generally not a nice guy. Just throwing that one out there.
Is kind of like that to me. It's kind of like it's a guideline, but really what actually matters is what are the players actually doing.
Yeah, I view alignment as a religion in that, the lawful is God, the neutrals are pagans, and the chaos are Satan. Like, you can be a good person and duped into serving Satan, and then your soul is damned, and then you're fucked. And if you're lawful, that doesn't necessarily mean you're good. You're just serving God,
See, I would
just because you serve God doesn't mean you're
that up, because I think you could be a member of the church and still be evil. If you're, of course, you wouldn't be able to use any miracles, but you could be an evil person that's using the church to gain power. And as a pagan, you could be an enlightened pagan who you've never heard the word, but you're generally just a good guy. And you're not worshiping like Moloch, you're worshiping like Perun or the god of the sky or some shit.
Even like the pagans like Aristotle, Plato, Socrates, and Pythagoras had a kind of primitive understanding of true monotheism. Right, their beliefs were they were kind of groping in the dark at what God was trying to teach them, but since Jesus wasn't around yet, they didn't get it. But they were close as they could
get. They were
get.
looking at the cave wall, trying to figure out what they were looking at.
Exactly. Yeah. They hadn't seen the true light. They just
Socrates, saw. Right.
Games.
No, that was Plato. That's Plato's cave. Yeah, but you weren't far off. Yeah. That's Plato's cave. But he was a student of Socrates, so you weren't far off.
So I weren't far off, but
Nope.
thank you for correcting me.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm a Greek.
So I guess my view on what you're saying is a little bit more, I hate the word, but I'm going to use it, nuanced. Because again, a person could not be of whatever, we're talking about. Say we're playing Baptism of Fire and somebody's playing one of the barbarians. They might not be evil because they might just be a generally good guy, even if they believe in pagan gods. Unless they're actively worshiping like Svirgargle or one of the Slavic
or Chernabog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they're worshiping Chernabog, then they're bad. They're just bad.
Yeah. Isn't Chernabog basically their word for Satan or something like that?
Chernabog is the god of darkness, and he has a brother named Belobog, who is the god of light. And the thing is with Slavic paganism, you hear about basically the same 7 gods, but they had about 100. Because you had the main big gods, but then like every tree and rock had a god.
I mean, even that was the same in Hinduism, where they had like the main pantheon, but they had like 33 million other gods that barely gets referenced. It's like, meh.
Like every village might have its own village god, and then of course, if you're good, your house might have a Domovoi that looks over your house, and even though that's not really a god, it is a spirit that looks over your house.
Bitch. Yeah, the Greeks believed that a lot of the cities they lived in were divinely inspired, like they were the sons of their founder kings, essentially, like Lycaon and his 50 sons.
Yeah, well, the Greeks, they believed a lot of things.
Oh, they believed in a lot of weird shit.
And I'm not even saying that to be mean, because let's be honest. I mean, no group of people on the planet invented as much shit as the Greeks.
The Greeks. Oh, yeah.
They invented yo-yos. They invented the freaking pump.
They had the locomotive. The locomotive was planned in the 3rd century BC.
I mean, those dudes were inventing shit. And so you gotta love them. They were smart. But some of the shit they did was like, what?
Oh, hey, the brazen bull. Yeah, let's have that wonderful contraption. That's fun.
That is not even the worst thing.
Oh, I know.
Poor Jose is being so polite.
Sorry, Jose.
Well, it's because he's got an issue where he can't be rude. Even though I keep telling him to just be rude.
Well, you know what then, Jose, please, do you have anything you'd wish to say?
Don't worry. I am just trying to practice not to interrupt, so it is quite a conscious effort. Yeah, I think that there is no absolute evil or absolute good, but there could be instead traits where somebody has positive traits and negative traits. So basically they do good or evil depending on the traits they have or something like that. Do you think that's possible?
For humans, it's possible there's no absolute good or absolute evil, but if we're talking theology, then gods, unless we're talking pagan gods, which are just basically a idealized form of humanity. If we're talking like God and the devil, then that's absolute good versus absolute evil. But if we're talking about Perun, the god of thunder or lightning or whatever, I mean, he's basically just a human that's really powerful and in charge of storms. Yeah. So it's kind of like all the Irish gods.
We're just kings that got deified, basically.
Kings and heroes that over time got worshipped and then become gods.
Yep. It's the same probably with Thor.
I don't know if that's what happened with the Greeks. It's probably what happened with the Norse. Odin was just a super wise king. And eventually, but
like with the Greeks, it's more complex because a lot of the gods that the Greeks worship come from like Indo-European Proto-Indo-European beliefs, but they also do deify like regional
Well, some
regional
people
aspects.
worship Alexander the Great.
Well, yeah, I mean, like their cities were almost deific. Like the names of the cities are correlated to the names of the sons of certain people. It's why 50 recurs so often. Like Hercules had 50
Well,
children.
Athens was
Priam
named
had
for
50.
Athena.
Priam had 50 sons, and Lycaon, like I said, 50 sons. They're all the name of the cities that they founded, essentially. So it's like allegory mixed with mythology and religion. It's weird. It's
Now,
Greeks.
what I was going to say,
Mhm.
but then I forgot, but now I'm going to say, you brought up the brazen bull.
Mhm.
There is, and I read this, actually, I didn't read it, I listened to it in Audible. There
Right.
was a Greek, this happened in Athens, but it happened in other city states too. If you did certain horrible shit that really pissed them off, they would tie you to like a big T-shaped thing and shove a greased cat up your ass. The cat was alive too.
Jeez.
I mean, in one of the punishments
And
for
that comes
being
from like a college book on Hellenistic culture that I haven't, because on my Audible, I have like the complete history of Byzantium. And, you know, I listen to like that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, they shoved the greased cat up your rectum
backside. Yeah.
while
I mean,
you're
look at
alive,
like
and a crowd
leather
of people are standing there watching it happen.
Leather Apron Club, a YouTuber, was talking about homosexuality in ancient Greece, and one of the punishments they did to people who engaged in this was they would publicly, it was called raphanidosis, where they would take a radish or sometimes a fish. The Romans did use garlic, or not garlic, a ginger instead, because it's knotted and stuff, and would insert it into the anal cavity and then throw hot ashes on his nether region's hair to effeminize and humiliate him. And it's like, Jesus, dude, that's a bit much. That's a bit harsh.
Apron's video about that is how the idea that Greece was some sort of utopia for alternate
gay people
lifestyles.
Nope,
is made up. They still find on ancient Greek cities like slurs where
the fact that
they're writing like Androseus is a sea sucking blah 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 that likes it, and it's like, so if they're so open minded about these alternate,
why was it that look at Rome? Look at the fact that Caesar, the one thing you could mock Caesar for his womanizing, for his manner of his speech, his hair, his epilepsy, anything, but the one thing you couldn't use against him was that he was gay. That was the one thing that he got violently angry over if you called him that. And never mind the fact that that one of the myths,
Nero hairy, because if you did, he'd have your legs broken with an iron staff. Because apparently he was really hairy. People used to compare him to a goat because of how hairy he was. But then again, he also killed both of his wives and then found a man that kind of looked like one of his wives. And had that man
made him a eunuch.
Yeah,
he turned him into a eunuch.
And then he cut another guy's legs off and he sewed octopus tentacles to the stumps.
Why?
Because Nero was an absolutely insane
maniac
evil man. You can't even blame crazy for Nero because
he was just evil. He was just evil.
Like Elagabalus or Little Boots, what's his name? Caligula.
Yeah.
If you're feeling generous, you can at least try to blame crazy. But
didn't Commodus? Didn't he compete in the arena? He took amputees and put him in the arena and pretended he was like Hercules or some shit.
Well, apparently he was a competent swordsman to some degree. But like even the Romans at the time were disgusted. Like there was one time where he stood on a podium, this long column, and there was like 100 lions in the arena, and he would just plink them with arrows, and they were like at once, in one way they were disgusted because one, those lions could have been used for entertainment, and two, it's like these lions didn't have a chance to die honorably. They were used as target practice. This is shameful.
Yeah, Commodus was not a good man, but
nope,
he wasn't like top tier evil.
No, he was just kind of petty. He was kind of petty. He just yeah. I mean, wasn't he billed as one? Like, isn't he like the mark of the beast, like 666 in Revelation?
People thought Napoleon was too. So I don't buy into all that. But and like Caligula, the people liked him, even when he was being his most crazy, because the only people Caligula really effed with were the
nobility.
He got screwed up as a kid, though. Caligula did.
Yeah, he did.
He got molested.
He got abused, really.
Yeah.
He had to be fair, like as well, it could also be chalked up to how much of what they say about Caligula is just propaganda. It's the same thing with like Richard or Edward II, where
that's everything.
Yeah. But I likely he was a little nutso because let's be frank, there's a lot of inbreeding.
A lot of people wrote about the shit he did. Like one of the first things he did when he became emperor is he turned the Senate into a whorehouse, and he made the wives of all the senators work there.
Really?
Or else die. Oh yeah, Caligula, he went after the actual governing class of Rome like it was his job. Like, which is why the common people put up with his nonsense, but the senators and shit were just like, like WTF. He did some other crazy shit though. Like he had an affair with his sister who thought she was ISIS, and like the typical crazy monarch stuff that you do when you have total power. But
and when you're a little inbred and very crazy,
right? Plus, he had a fever when he was young, and his temperature went really, really high. So there's a chance that he might have actually had brain damage.
Well, it's also possible. Given the person that raised him, it's very likely he also could have been like molested when he was very young, and he was exposed to. Yeah, like he was exposed to a lot of like really torturous stuff. It's kind of like Vlad Tepes,
Right.
Like he had a rough go of it, man. It's no wonder that he turned out the way he did.
Turks, because
they
always had a thing for little boys.
Look, I'm just saying that when the Byzantine emperor is being invaded by the Muslims to the point where the way he deals with uprisings is to do Byzantine blinding, that can give you kind of an idea of the people that he's fighting against.
Right. But
same with the Assyrians, like they had to.
That even today, in a lot of countries that are a majority of this religion, they turn a blind eye to boy love. This was a big problem in Afghanistan.
Yeah, the dancing boys. What are they called? The Bajabazi.
Our Marines would be forced to work with Afghan troops, and the Afghan troops would literally have like little boys that they tucked to the field with them to abuse.
Yeah, I remember there was.
And then our Marines would punch one of them in the head and get in trouble.
But no, that was a high-ranking police officer or general. That's why he got discharged, I think, during the Obama administration. It was
this guy had a small.
We can't
change his tent.
Yeah, we can't affect the good relations we have with the Afghan military police force.
Right, but regardless, so if Vlad was taken into custody by these people. Now, going back to Jose, Vindicator. Come on.
What happened with the Vindicator?
For the sea bills,
yeah,
and the weight,
yes,
it's hard to beat.
Oh yeah.
And when I make my video on my top mechs,
Mm-hmm.
Vindicator is going to be on that list, so
Okay.
you won't be surprised.
Oh, is this for BattleTech?
Yes.
Oh yes, BattleTech. Yes.
Mm.
He wants me to make my opinion video, and then maybe he'll make a video because he's got a channel called BattleTech Player or whatever.
It is BattleTech
And,
fan.
Nice.
and I'm telling him point blank, I mean, for the tonnage and everything, Vindicators are little monsters.
Mm.
You know.
Well, tanks typically are. Like, let's be frank.
Well, I mean, it's a relatively light mech, but it has a shit ton of mobility and firepower, and it can
Look.
take a hit
Look,
if it needs.
what are mechs but tanks with legs, dude? Even a little mech is probably a big tank.
The Goliath is a mech with multiple, quad mech, and the Scorpion, and they kind of suck, but whatever,
Well,
But Vindicator is just such an efficient mech. It's for the points cost compared to what it does. Like a lot of people love the Jenner. I love the Jenner. The Jenner can be a great mech. Is it my number one light mech? No.
Oh, as a side note, Double D, Shark is asking what kind of French cavalry are you using for your army?
Oh, Corsairs or because the French had a ton of cavalry.
They give you all kind. They give you all kinds of different ones in the box. These are the Carabiniers, or whatever they're called. There's like just like the regular heavy cavalry too. See if I can get you.
I have to ask you, Double D, just as a quick note for a friend, does your army have any grognards in it?
Oh yeah, tons.
Well, that would be elite troops.
Yeah, the grognards, the grumblers.
The grumblers.
Yeah.
They all had to be like 6 foot tall, and then they were wearing like a foot tall bearskin hat.
Sweet.
Like, I mean, me and little known historical facts. Little known historical fact: Napoleon was not short.
Oh no, he wasn't. That's just entire. He was probably like 5'8" or 5'9".
Yeah, he was taller than Wellington. But the problem
Really?
was, when you look across the field at Napoleon,
he looked tiny,
and he's standing next to all of his, elite guard guys that are all, basically 7 foot tall with the hat. Yeah, he looked little.
Yeah.
And plus, it was propaganda because, making fun of Napoleon for being short. That's just all in good fun. You know?
I'm glad you appreciate the joke, Shark. Glad you appreciate it.
But yeah. So.
But yeah, no. So what we're just
surrounded himself with a bunch of guys that were just constantly bitching about which edition of D&D was the best.
Pretty much. But what were the ones you were going for? Double D, were they?
What's that?
About the Vindicator, James? It is going to be mentioned in a video that is scheduled to be premiered in 26 days.
Well, mine will be a lot sooner, but
yeah, okay, perfect. Yeah,
But,
basically, I will be covering the mechs in the first 3 boxes: beginner box, Game of Armor Combat, and Clan Invasion. And basically, the Vindicator is in the beginner box, so it is going to be covered there. Okay.
Nice.
I don't know, Double D, if they gave you mounted infantry in the game. In that game, did they?
Gave what?
Mounted infantry.
Mounted infantry.
Yeah, see, in the Civil War game, you have mounted infantry. Like they show up on horseback, but when they get ready to fight, they leave all the horses behind and they advance as infantrymen. A lot of times skirmishing.
I don't think so in the Napoleonic, James.
Yeah, I think that might not have been a French thing, but
yeah,
were...
they have skirmishers for the French, which are like little individual figures you can put on a base.
Yeah, we got that for the Civil War game too, the skirmishers and sharpshooters. But you actually have a unit type that is mounted infantry. and they show up on horseback, and then at some point they dismount, and 1 or 2 guys are left behind to hold all the horses, and the rest of the unit advances forward. And it's something like, there's one battle where a unit of dismounted infantry pretty much massacred a Confederate unit because the Union troops were armed with like sharps, repeating rifles, and the Confederates were still using their Enfields. So it was like, you know, these guys were outnumbered and everything, but it was like really a bad day.
Interesting. Yeah.
A gray coat.
I'll be anxious to get back to the Civil War. I painted about six sprues each of the Union and Confederate, and then like some cavalry, and then I lost some steam.
It happens.
Yeah.
Like Double D said, you gotta be careful, because if you play the Confederates at all, some people will automatically call you racismo. You know. I mean,
I was wondering when that would start to filter to wargaming. It seems like now, you know, like, oh, you like to play the Germans. Yeah, I always, in the back of my mind, I'm like, how long is it going to take before they start using that tactic? And I guess we're there now.
I am surprised it took them this long, but I guess wargaming is so niche. I mean, they kind of do it with 40K.
Well, historical wargaming is
40K. Yeah, 40K. That was infiltrated a long time ago.
Right.
You know, I mean, arguably, it's the people who made the game were like that. They just were smart enough because they wanted to make money.
Midwinter Minis, that British couple that do mini talk, that like his wife threw a fit because she refused. They bought the starter box for Bolt Action, and then his wife threw a fit because she refused to paint the Panzer III that came in the box. Because she's like, I'm not painting a German tank. I think that was Midwinter Man. And like everybody, of course, dogged them. They're like, who did you think would be in the box?
Yeah.
You know?
So, oh wow! I opened this World War II. I opened this World War II kit, and magically, Alexander the Great popped in.
Right.
How did that happen?
It's like, you're really surprised that there's a.
It's faux outrage. They weren't surprised. They were just trying to get attention. I refuse to believe these people are that stupid.
All right. People were making fun of them for like days.
Yeah, at this point, I refuse to believe these people are this stupid. I refuse. You cannot be that blitheringly ignorant.
I think you can if you're British.
Maybe.
Because they have been demoralized and basically
propagandized
for so long that it's like they don't even know what's true anymore in Britain.
Yeah.
You know?
I remember Sargon did a video about it where literally the barometer is if Hitler does a thing, it must be bad.
Right.
It's like,
whatever water? Hitler drank water.
Therefore,
you're as evil as Hitler. And that's basically the state of their politics right now.
That's the state of their morality and religion. They do not believe. Like there's a reason why these people who hold that up in such religious terms, James, it's the liberal religion. That is their genesis. Hitler is their demiurge.
Their demiurge.
You know.
Look at you talking all Gnostic and shit. I'm not a fan of Gnosticism, but okay.
I don't know, man. I'm just sick of it. I can't even summon up an enthusiasm to be really angry anymore. I'm just like, okay.
Well, it has been about 3 hours, and even though it's a pleasure to see Double D, and even though Jose got to sit there and I got to stare at his Valtech figures, it is time for me to go.
Yeah, remember to visit the channel Battletech Fan.
Battletech
of course,
Fan.
Battletech Fan.
And Double D, don't forget that.
And don't get upset because the voice is AI, but the script is mine.
He has a really good review on that channel, of Destiny and stuff. So if you're interested in that,
Yeah, my voice is not exactly for podcast or for.
I don't know. I
because
like
it's
your
not
voice.
recorded,
It's not that bad.
like that. So
You kind of
It's-
sound like Ricardo Montalban, and he was
Jay-
badass, dude.
Jose,
Oh, yeah.
your voice is fine. I've heard far worse. Trust me. Your voice is a
Okay.
solid 7. I'll grant you that.
I mean, who can forget Ricardo Montalban being all like,
yeah,
"From hell's mouth, I spit my last
Right.
breath at thee." And all that shit. Right when he's getting ready to detonate the Reliant to kill Kirk
hmm
with my last. I mean,
Well, thanks, James.
badass.
okay.
Double D, before you go, when's your next vid coming up? Just out of curiosity.
I don't know.
Dang it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
If
kind of wild lately.
if I became a member now, Double D,
Once a week.
would I be able to get that stream you did? Because I do want to watch the Condor meltdown. To be honest.
Yeah, I think so. I think you should have access to it.
I
yeah.
can answer something for you, Double D, before I go.
What's that?
Hmm?
Well, my father, my pops, used to be a dental technician.
Mhm.
Because, which meant back in the day, he made the teeth out of porcelain and silver or gold or whatever. And he basically taught me a way to tell if somebody has fake teeth or not. And it's if the top under your nose here, like if you feel it, it's round, right? But if you see a person and it's flat, it's they either have no teeth or they're wearing fake teeth.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like the guy who played Mal in Firefly, he has fake teeth. If you look at his face, you'll notice under his nose it's perfectly flat.
Huh.
So Condor is no teeth or dentures, yes. But anyway,